Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is story about Minato divorced Kushina for another woman and takes custody of Naruto part 1. Before I start, please do support for more amazing content and comments for part 2. Do consider to subscribe my channel and share my video to your friends and check out the description as well. Let's start the video. Minato Namikaze was a successful businessman in Tokyo. He was well received by his employees. Minato treated his employees as family, and they all respected him with all their hearts. Minato had a high reputation in corporate world. The company wasn't owner of the company. Its previous owner was Sarutobi Hiruzen. People called Hiruzen Professor because he was one of the prodigious businessmen in Tokyo. He gave his seat to Minato because last year his company got the #1 company. The males all were envied of him, and the women were just ready to do anything for him. He was handsome, well-built, 6 foot of height, blonde hair, blue eyes and a kind and charming aura around him. Minato did his duties with his best and take the company to new heights. He did everything in the limits of legality to ensure his company's growth. He has a partner Asuma, the son of Hiruzen, and he has 3 best employees in his company: Hataki Kakashi, Obito Uchiha and Rin. Asuma had his own company, but he was a partner of this company too. The 3 were working on internship, so they were not the full-time employees of the company yet. But Minato had promised that their place in the company is secure, so his career was good and his personal life was doing great. When he was 19 years old, he got married to the most beautiful woman, Kushina Uzumaki. Kushina Uzumaki was breathtakingly beautiful, attractive, cheery, outgoing, had red hairs long enough to come to her knees, almost 6 foot of height, slender with creamy pink skin color and silk-like skin and big around D-cups. She had violet eyes. She was strong, physically strong, and had a smart mind, but she was weak, emotionally weak on a certain level. She was a master of martial arts and other fighting styles. She had even taught Minato how to fight, though he knew already, but not on Kushina's level. Whenever she went out, every male and female's eyes used to turn towards her like she was an alien, some kind of different creature, and whenever she went to Minato's office, she was always surrounded by males and females. So Minato and Kushina were happy. They had a son, Naruto, after 1 year of marriage. Kushina turned 19 when she gave birth to Naruto. The baby Naruto had violet eyes and red hair just like his mother. His facial structure was like that of Minato. They loved Naruto more than anything. They thought their life was complete and perfect, but it was only until she entered in Minato's company, Mabuki Haruno. Mabuki was a blonde-haired woman married to Kizashi. She came in the company and started to show her colors. She behaved good and nice with everyone, but was always ready to take his friendship with Minato to second level even after knowing that Minato was married. One day the company got a big contract and Mabuki was the one holding the management of this contract. Minato was ecstatic from the success of the deal, and he praised Mabuki to no limits, which did nothing but to increase her infatuation with Minato. Minato threw a party on this occasion, and got drunk, and same could be said with Mabuki. When everyone left for their houses, Minato and Mabuki was the only one left. Mabuki was a drunkard, so she was used to alcohol, and that's why she was in control of herself, but the same couldn't be said about Minato. He was wobbling on his legs. Mabuki found the opportunity that she was searching for 4 years now since joining the company. She took Minato to a hotel which was owned by Uchiha's. Mabuki ushered Minato into her room and did what she wanted to do. She undressed Minato to his boxers. She herself undressed to her panties and lay down beside Minato, draping his arm on her naked. She looked at his face. Now I will enter in your life and that bitch Kushina would be out, she thought. Minato, out of his mind, mumbled, I love you too, and Mabuki couldn't help the joy from swelling in her heart, and kissed him hard till she could and then dozed off. Next morning when Minato opened his eyes, his head was drumming. He looked around and his eyes widened in horror when he saw a mop of blonde hair. His mind went in frenzy immediately, and at that moment Mabuki opened her eyes and looked at Minato with a smile. She stood up and gave a peck on his lips and started to gather her clothes. Last night was wonderful. I didn't know you loved me that much, Mabuki said while dressing. After dressing, she sat in his lap and gave him another peck. I am happy that finally you confessed to me, and I love you too, Mabuki said, and wrapped her arms around him. Minato couldn't form words in his mouth, but he croaked out, what happened last night? Mabuki looked at Minato, and told him that he was wild in the bed, and he said he loved her, and they made love. Minato blood froze in his veins. His eyes were saucers. Well, get up and get ready. You have to go to the office, Mabuki said, behaving like she was his wife. After that day Mabuki always tried to stay as close as she could, even after Minato said that he doesn't love her, and that was a mistake, but she pressed that it wasn't a mistake, it was the proof that they loved each other. One day when Mabuki felt that distances between Minato and her increasing, she got desperate and couldn't take it anymore. Mabuki went to Minato's cabin and seduced him, and Minato resisted her for a minute but stopped struggling when she took her prick in her mouth and started to deep-throat him like a slut. Minato felt pleasure he never felt from Kushina. He resigned himself to the pleasure and let her mouth work on his prick. He even said that Kushina never took him deep-throat. Why? He didn't know, but he was sure she didn't have any problem with it. She said she was not comfortable with it, but she doesn't have any problem in giving him a blowjob. He groaned and released in Mabuki's mouth, and after that they lost themselves in the pleasure. They now started to spend their whole time in his cabin having sex. Mabuki didn't let his conscious mind to come in control, and Minato started to distance from Kushina. Minato and Mabuki were now lovers and started dating, but no one knew. Minato even stopped going home and started to spend days in hotels or in office fucking Mabuki. He drowned himself in lust. Mabuki let him do anything he wanted with her body, and he liked it. He said Kushina never let him do everything he wanted. Mabuki let him struck his prick in any hole he wanted, and Minato was happy with it. He completely dominated her, and treated her like a slut. Maybe this was what he wanted with Kushina, but she didn't let him dominate her in bed like a slut. Minato and Mabuki's love now on high, and one day Mabuki raised the question of marriage since it's been 1 year since they started to fuck. It's been 1 year. Minato changed completely. Minato thought and said that he was still married to Kushina and it was illegal to marry until you are divorced, but he reassured her that he would handle it. No problem. He prepared divorce papers and made Kushina's signature on them, saying that it was business-related papers, and Kushina trusted him blindly, so without reading she signed them, and with a smile gave the papers to Minato. Naruto was 5 years old now. He was the cute and sweet son of his mother. Kushina spent most of her time with Naruto, almost 24 hours in absence of Minato. She slept with him and woke up with him, she took baths with him and dressed him, and she fed him with her own hands. She totally spoiled him with her love. Naruto often played with her long red hairs. He loved to lie entangled in his mother's long hairs. So this was one of the same day for Kushina. Minato hadn't come home for a week and she understood that he was busy with his business because that's what he had told her, busy with business. And she trusted her with her soul. She woke up with Naruto in her arms and giving him a kiss on his forehead left the bed to freshen up. She then woke Naruto up and took a 1-hour-long shower with him, playing with him in the tub filled with hot water. She came out, dressed Naruto and feed him and started to play with him in the living room. Just then Minato came. Kushina smiled but stopped, and her smile disappeared when she saw Mabuki with him. Kushina saw that Mabuki came directly to her and stopped in front of her. Kushina looked at her. Start packing. You are leaving this house, Mabuki said, and Kushina's eyes widened, then narrowed. What the hell are you talking about? It's my house, and who the hell you are to order me to leave this house? Kushina growled and then looked at Minato. Mabuki noticed it. Minato, show her, Mabuki said, and Minato gave the divorce papers to Kushina. Kushina's eyes widened in shock and tears started to flood in her eyes. She looked at Minato, her husband whom she worshipped and loved with every fiber of her being, the same man who was her only solace and support in the world. He betrayed her and cheated on her with that slut. He betrayed her trust in the worst way possible. She read the papers. It had some conditions, like she wouldn't have anything to do with Minato and would be legally divorced and separated. She will leave this house. She can't claim any kind of alimony to Minato in any form. Kushina fell down to her knees and cried to her eyes out. But when she heard the next condition, her whole world, whatever left of it, came crumbling down on her. She felt someone tore her soul from her body. The condition was, Minato would get custody of Naruto because she can't raise him. She won't be capable to raise Naruto. She would break every relation with Naruto and will never try to meet him again, and if she tries to break these rules she would be arrested and would be sent to jail. Kushina's mind became blank, couldn't hear or see anything. She didn't even acknowledge Naruto when he came to her and asked what happened. Minato then went inside and after 15 minutes came out with 2 bags full of Kushina's belongings. He placed it near Kushina. Take it and leave, he said without any emotions, like someone else was saying those words. Kushina now saw that Naruto was crying, clutching her leg. She immediately hugged her to her bosom tightly, and after some minutes when he calmed down she broke the hug and looked in Naruto's violet eyes. Naruto, Mama is going out for a while, okay, and she would not return for a long time, and in Mama's absence you need to study hard and become as strong than anyone else, and don't forget the moves I have taught you. Oh, Kawaii, Kushina said and looked down to hide her tears. She again lifted her head and looked at Naruto. This is a mission you have to complete, and when Kushina said and give Naruto a long kiss on his forehead, and then stood up. Naruto, when heard the mission, he filled with determination and nodded enthusiastically. Kushina ruffled his hair and lifted his bag and looked at Minato and Mabuki but didn't say anything. There were no words to utter. To her at that time every word seemed useless. She turned to the main gate and walked out, not before taking a brief glance towards her little baby Naruto. Kushina didn't have any money to hire a lawyer to fight for Naruto's custody, so she couldn't do anything. Kushina was alone in the world, no parents, no relatives, and some friends whom she hadn't contacted for a long time. She had a small home before she married to Minato. The home had only 1 bedroom, attached kitchen with a small living room with 2 couches and a table, and bathroom. She decided to go to her small home. After 2 hours, she was standing in front of her old house. She felt nostalgic. She entered in the house and closed the door behind her and broke down in the flood of tears. She fell down on the floor and cried. She didn't care if her cloths became dirty from the dust accumulating on the wooden floor. She didn't care if her long red hair got dirty. She cried to the exhaustion and fell asleep where she was lying. She woke up after 2 hours but kept lying. She turned on her back and looked at the ceiling. Her life was perfect till the morning, and in moments it all destroyed completely. She never imagined even in her dreams that something like this could happen, but reality was harsh. The new house needed to get cleaned up. She stood up, forcing her emotions to the back of her head, and started to clean the house. She finished everything at 10 in the night. After taking a shower, she fell down to her soft mattress. She thought to fight against Minato, but she had broken morally and her confidence was several miles deep in the ground. She didn't feel like doing anything, just keep lying on her mattress. But to survive in the world she needed money. Next day she searched for work and found a job to teach children in an orphanage. She worked there for 1 year, but she couldn't work there anymore because those children made her remember her baby boy and it was hard for her to control her emotions in front of everyone. Next job she found in a bakery, but she left it after 6 months because the owner was a rude person and insulted her on almost daily basis. After that she found a job in an import and export company which used to deal in electronic devices. There, her job was a physical work, loading and unloading of the electronic machineries and other electronic appliances. She didn't have any problem working physically because she used to be a martial artist before her marriage, stamina powerhouse and physically stronger, so it was a piece of cake for her. She even worked more than anyone and without any day off. The working time was of 8 hours, but she insisted to work extra, so she worked for 12 hours. Everyone was astonished to see her working without getting tired. The employees there were all nice people. She, being an outgoing woman, immediately became friends with everyone. It also helped her to take her mind off of things she wanted to forget. She worked as a laborer around 1 year, but after that she was offered an accountant job after an incident. The incident was that, after unloading the goods, they were needed to get organized and managed in the accounting software, and their accountant was absent that day, so Kushina herself did all the work, and when the owner came to know this he was happy and offered her main accountant job and she received it with grace. So she worked hard as a lead accountant, and often helped laborers whenever she had time. She even helped in the departments she wasn't part of. So every person was happy from her. After 1.5 years the owner offered her the CEO seat since she had all the qualification, and again she took it humbly. After that her life was of luxury. She expanded her little home to a 2-story building, but she kept it in limit because she didn't want a large empty house. She was the lone person there. 2 rooms on the first floor, with bathroom and every other facility, and same were on ground floor, 2 bedrooms, and 1 2 times larger living room and a kitchen. She was now happy in her new life. The company wasn't a large one, but whatever it was she was happy working in it. She had forgotten her old life almost. Now she didn't used to remember about the peoples in her old life. She kept herself busy in work. Everything was good, just not her personal life. It was hollow. Beside the company, she was alone. She slept alone, woke up alone, and shared her happy moments with herself at her home. And these were the times her old memories used to come back. It's been 4 years now. She was 27 now and still looked like she used to look all those years ago. She was more mature now, more experienced and knowledgeable about the world. Several guys asked her out, but she declined their proposals. 2 more years later, she was offered the partnership in the company that she declined, but when everyone urged her, she accepted the partnership with 5% shares in the company. 1 more year later she was ready to move on, and then she accepted the proposal of a good-looking guy with black hair, and he was a little smaller than her, almost 6 foot of height, well-built with fair complexion. He was a board member in the company with 20% share. He was also good-natured, but that doesn't matter to her because Minato was like that too. His name was Hyuga Hayashi. His wife was dead and he had 2 daughters, so they started to date, but before accepting his proposal Kushina made some rules and she said if he is okay with her rules only then she would date him. She couldn't trust him, but at least she started to trust even an ounce of it. The rules were simple: no touching, no holding hands, no kissing, no intimate hugs, normal hugs were okay, no sex. If they go to parties together then he won't force her to drink. She doesn't want any of it until she is comfortable, and had enough trust on him to let him go that far. Hayashi first thought to just back off, but then he thought that if he wants to screw a woman like Kushina it was worth waiting for some days. So he accepted. And it's been 2 months and they were just there, from where they had started. Kushina had allowed him to hold her hand and simple hugs that lasted for almost some seconds but nothing else. So she was happy now that she had someone to share things, but same couldn't be said about Hayashi. He was getting desperate to touch her more, but Kushina was happy nonetheless. After Kushina left the house its environment changed completely. Mabuki controlled everything. She was a good mother to Naruto in front of Minato, but she started to beat him behind him. Minato also distanced from Naruto. He spent his day in office fucking Mabuki and in the night at home fucking Mabuki. They didn't care if anyone in the house heard their disgusting voices and Naruto always went out to avoid hearing them. They talked filth while fucking. Naruto stayed home when they were out, crying for his mother Kushina. He knew something happened and his new mother was the reason for it, and he was mad for it with his father. He had planned to live alone after middle school when he would take admission in high school. He started to take classes on martial arts specially. Kushina had taught him some, and he practiced them daily. So he was around 4 feet 9 inches of height with strong muscles and well built. As time went by Minato's company started to lose its shine in the corporate world and after some year it reached its lowest level. Minato was in debt. He started drinking. He handed over the company to Mabuki, and she became the new boss. Her attitude was totally different in compared to Minato, so employees were not happy with it. Now Mabuki handled everything at home and in the company. Minato was there to only fuck her. He also stopped listening to Naruto and cut himself off from him completely. He didn't care what Naruto did. Naruto was a smart boy, genius almost. He was second in his class and the first was Uchiha Sasuke because he had every facility that helped him, but Naruto didn't have anything to help him. Naruto finished his middle school when he was 12 years old, and now it was time to get admitted to high school. Naruto went to his father, but he didn't heed his words and said he doesn't have any money for his admission. He said to ask his mother. Naruto, depressed, come out of the room and waited for his mother. He knew it was a futile effort, but he wanted to try one last time. His mother, as he had thought, refused to give any money to him, and said he will have to work and earn it himself. Naruto cried helplessly in his room. He so much desperately wanted to leave that house, that he was ready to do anything. Naruto always missed his mother, but at times like these he missed her like a fish out of water. He didn't even remember her face. He was 5 years old when she left the house. He only remembered her hair, the blood-red color of her hair, and her name. In the morning Naruto went out to search for work, but due to his age no one gave him any work. After searching for a whole day he sat on the footpath tired and hungry. He wanted to cry but shook his head. Crying wouldn't do anything. He was on his own. No one was coming to help him, to tell him that everything will be fine. He hung his head down and looked at the road. His hair was a mess and dirty like his cloths. He held his knees to his chest and sat there, occasionally glancing around. He put his head on his knees. Suddenly his head snapped up when someone put a hand on his shoulder, and his eyes widened when he recognized the person. He blinked the oncoming tear. Kurinai-sensei, he mumbled, and a tear slid down his cheek. Kurinai was a teacher in his middle school. She knew everything about him and his parents. She often helped him with his troubles. What are you doing here, Naruto, and what happened? Why are you crying? She asked in her usual soft tone. Naruto choked back a sob and couldn't speak anything. Kurinai sat down in front of him and hugged him to calm him down. The warmth was enough for him to break down, but he didn't. He needed to be strong. After 5 minutes he calmed down, and Kurinai broke the hug and asked him what was the problem, and Naruto told him everything about his wish to go to high school and away from his house. Kurinai thought for a minute. She was newly married to Asuma. Kurinai put her hand on his shoulder and looked at him. Naruto, I will pay your admission fee and rent for the dorms, Kurinai said, and Naruto's eyes widened. UW will. Are you sure, sensei? Naruto stuttered, not believing his ears. Kurinai smiled and nodded. But you will have to find some work for further studies. I don't like the idea for a little boy like you to work, but that's the only solution, Kurinai said, and Naruto became depressed again. No one wants to give any work for me because of my age, Naruto said sadly. Kurinai sighed. She knew no one would give him work. Suddenly an idea came to her. Naruto, in the high school you are going, some friends of mine teach there. So you go there and settle. I will talk to them to help you. Okay, Kurinai said, and Naruto's eyes watered again. Thank you, Kurinai-sensei. I don't know how I will repay you, Naruto said in a hoarse voice. Well, you can pay me when you get a fine job after finishing your studies, and I want interest too, Kurinai said, and they both laughed. Next day Naruto packed his stuff and went to the town his college was in. He was with his friend Shuji. They were going to share a room to share the rent. After settling in the dorms, Naruto took out the address Kurinai had given him. He needed to talk those friends Kurinai mentioned, and it was still a week for classes to start. So he decided to go to their home. Kurinai had given him 2 addresses. He decided to go for first. Naruto rang the doorbell of the first friend of Kurinai. After 1 minute the door opened and Naruto was stunned. He saw the beautiful woman in front of him. Pale face, thin lips, purple hair, around 5 feet 7 inches of height, full D-cup, long-toned legs. She was wearing white top and loose shorts which came to her mid-thigh. Naruto came out of his ogling when the woman addressed him. Hey, who the hell allowed you to ogle me? Huh, and who the hell are you? The woman said, and Naruto stiffened. He immediately bowed and apologized for his misbehave. I am Naruto. Kurinai-sensei must have talked to you, he said, and a thoughtful look appeared on the woman's face. Oh yeah, I remember. You are that Naruto kid who needs some work, she said, and Naruto nodded. Okay, come inside, she said. Is it okay for me to come in? Naruto asked, and woman raised her eyebrow. Are you some thief? She asked. No, Naruto answered immediately. A criminal. No, a rapist. Hell no, he shouted. Then what's the problem? Come in, she said, and ushered him to the couch, and herself sat on the other couch in front of him. Kurinai has told me your problem, and right now I have a good job for you, she said, and Naruto's face sparkled with hope. Really? Naruto stopped. He didn't know her name. Kurinai had only given him the address, and in hurry he forgot to ask the names. Anko Midarashi, she introduced herself. Okay, Midarashi-san, he said. Don't bother, just call me Anko or Sensei, Anko stated. Okay, Anko-sensei, Naruto said, and Anko nodded. He continued. So the job? Naruto trailed off. Oh yeah, sorry, I know a job, a vacancy in an import and export company. The company deals with electronics items. You will do physical work, 600 yen for everyday work, 300 for half-time. Like if anybody is interested in part-time work, he can work 4 hours for 300 yen. You must be punctual, no violence, and there are other rules that I don't remember. So what do you say? Anko told him the conditions. I will do it, Naruto said immediately. Okay, but I have my one condition, Anko said, smiling evilly, and stared at Naruto. What is that? Naruto asked, scared now of the woman in front of him. I will take half of your money for first week, after that you are free. And before you say anything, it was very hard to get the form, so I want something out of it, Anko said, smirking evilly, scaring Naruto. Oh, okay, Naruto replied, not wanting to be the target of those evil eyes. Anko raised an eyebrow, then shrugged. Okay, the interview will be held the day after tomorrow. So be ready for it, she said, and gave him the form. Take this form with you and give it to receptionist. Tell her that I have sent you and your waiting time would be reduced to half. She is a friend of mine, Anko said, and handed the form to Naruto. Naruto took a look at the form. At the top was company's name, Bryla Electronics Import-Export Private Limited. Then it contained the usual information. He thanked Anko and took his leave. When they reached the gate, Anko stopped him. Work hard and good luck, she said, and gave him her genuine smile. Naruto startled for a moment from her change in attitude. He too smiled and nodded. Okay, see you in the class then, she said, and closed the door. Naruto reached his dorm room and filled other information like name, address, etc. He left mother and father name column empty. Next day he reached the Bryla company and entered in it, and handed the form to the receptionist. He told her that Anko has sent him, and she told him that she will see what she can do. After half hour the receptionist said that he has fifth turn. He nodded and waited. Kushina didn't want to take interviews. She wasn't interested in those boring things. She even didn't sit in her office for a long time. Either she helped the workers or walked with her boyfriend. Hayashi had also started to work in the same building so they could stay close and get to know each other better. It's been 2 months since they started dating, but he was still holding her hand only. Only he knew how he was controlling himself from pouncing on Kushina. Kushina's boss has asked her to take the interview for the new employees and part-timers. Kushina had reluctantly agreed because there was no one at the moment except Kushina and Hayashi. So she accepted. So here she was, sitting in the interview office, taking a brief look at the names of the applicants. Interview started and first applicant entered, then second, third, and then fourth. After dismissing fourth candidate, she looked at the next name and her eyes widened. Her body froze when she read the name of fifth candidate, Naruto Namikaze. There was only one Namikaze family in whole country. Her body started to tremble. She took out the form from the file and read the information. No doubt about who he was. Father and mother name were empty. Her heart sank and she couldn't stop her tears when she realized that her Naruto was searching for work at the age of 12 years old. Didn't that bastard and the whore fulfill his needs? Her Naruto, she wanted to burst through the door and hug him senseless, to her heart's content. He must have been young now, she thought. She, with shaking voice, called the secretary or the receptionist. Shiho. Yes, ma'am, she asked. Kushina didn't look at her because she was crying. Postpone all the interviews and meetings to tomorrow and some other time. Send everyone back except Naruto Namikaze, and when I say, send him in. Shiho nodded without any comments and went out. Kushina tried to calm her mind and body, but to no avail. Her mind and body were jumping in joy. She was about to see her baby boy after so many years, but a sick feeling arose in her stomach. Did he even remember her? He was only 5 years old when she left him. She won't be able to take it if he wouldn't remember her. Even only one thing of her in his memory would be fine. Hardening her resolve in her heart, she called the next applicant, Naruto Namikaze. Naruto knocked the door. May I come in? He asked with manners. Kushina gasped when she heard his voice. She noticed that his voice had changed. It felt like mature. A wave of sadness again washed over her when she realized that her son became mature before time. Please come in, Kushina said, stuttering. Naruto walked in and stood straight, and when he looked at her, and for a moment his eyes widened from the sight of familiar figure, but he controlled him and let it slide as a coincidence that the person in front of her has red hair. Kushina was still looking to the side and Naruto was still waiting. Please sit, Kushina said slowly but loud enough for Naruto to hear. Thank you, Naruto said and sat down on the chair. Kushina was still looking down, and Naruto started to feel uneasy now. Is everything alright? Naruto asked. Yes, everything is alright, Kushina said and slowly lifted her head, and when her eyes met Naruto's, her eyes widened. Naruto, her baby boy, was not her baby anymore. He was a grown-up man, matured, handsome. His eyes told her everything. The pain they held in them. Kushina's eyes watered, but before Naruto could look at her she stood up and walked to the window to hide her tears. Naruto looked at her. Ma'am, is there any problem? Naruto asked confusedly. Oh God. I want to embrace him in my arms so badly that it is hard for me to control myself, she thought while crying. Her mind and heart was a whirlwind of emotion. She composed herself, and wiped her tears and turned towards him and smiled. Everything is all right. Let's start the interview, she said and sat down on her seat. Kushina looked at his form again and asked, You are 12 years old. Why do you want to work at such a young age? Kushina asked and looked at Naruto intently. Your parents doesn't pay for you and your application form's parents' name columns is also empty, Kushina asked. She felt sick of herself giving him more pain, but she wanted to know what happened. She needed to know. Naruto was clearly uncomfortable with the questions. Is this necessary? Naruto asked nervously. Kushina looked to the side to avoid looking at the hurtful expression on his face. Yeah, we prefer to know the family background to avoid future problems, Kushina said and looked at Naruto. Naruto looked, and his eyes started to wet, but he blinked that wetness away, but it didn't go unnoticed by Kushina. My parents don't care about me. My father has cut any kind of attachment with me, and my mother refused to give me any money, and I wanted to take admission in high school. Someone paid my admission fees, but for my next semester fees I need to get a job, Naruto told her. Kushina's breath was coming in gasps now. It was already hard for her to control herself, and after listening Naruto she couldn't control herself. Tears started to flow out of her eyes. Naruto lifted his head and looked at her. His face was full of tears. The one who should cry, laugh at me, and the one who shouldn't is crying, Naruto said between sobs. He tried to calm down and took a long breath and wiped his tears. You don't need to cry for me, Naruto said, now calm down. But Kushina didn't calm down. What's their name? She asked. Naruto sighed again. Minato Namikaze and Mabuki Haruno. Actually she is my stepmother, Naruto said, now getting his bearings back. Kushina then couldn't stop herself from asking the next question. What about your real mother? She asked, still failing to control her whirling emotions. Naruto closed his eyes and leaned back. I don't remember much about her. I was 5 years old when she left me. It was because my dad brought my stepmom, I guess. Later I realized that my father divorced my real mother for my stepmother, and my stepmother is completely opposite of my real mother. I only remember 2 things about my real mother. First, she had red hair like you, and second, her name, and the moves she taught me. That's all about my real mother, Naruto said, explaining. He didn't know Kushina's intentions. He thought it was for the sake of getting the job. Kushina was desperate now to know how much he remembered her. Do you miss your real mother? She asked. She had lost control of her emotions, and it was not a common sight to lost control of her emotions for a woman. She was controlling them for years, but now they were controlling her. He was so close to her but still so far. She decided that if everything went right she would tell him about herself. I miss the vague memories of my real mother are the only motivation for me to keep going. I still remember her last words to me. She said me to be strong, and I am strong physically, but I lose control of my emotion on occasions, and at those times the vague memories are the only friends of mine that comforts me. So yeah, I miss her more than anything. I wonder if she thinks about me. Naruto then becomes silent, and waited for her next question. Naruto thought it was a weird interview. Kushina had her hand on her mouth to stifle the gasps and sobs. She decided to ask him 2 more questions before revealing her identity. Are you mad at her for leaving you? Kushina asked with several pauses. Naruto chuckled sadly. Mad? I can never be mad with her. Actually, I was mad at her when she didn't return same day or next day or in 1 month. I was mad at her until I didn't see the copy of her divorce, and that was the time I understood what was the reason she left me, otherwise she would have taken me with her. My real mother's memories are the sole reason I was able to stay sane in that house. So no, I am not mad at her, Naruto replied, and they became silent. Both of them were looking down. One last question Kushina wanted to ask, and it will decide if it was okay to reveal her identity or not. What would you do if she comes to you and asks you to live with her? Kushina asked this question in one breath. Naruto smiled and looked down. If I ever meet her, and she has her arms open for me, Naruto said and looked at her, I would gladly go with her. Then he sighed and again looked at her, but she was looking down, hiding her face. But I think she might have forgotten about me till now, Naruto said, and again tried to calm his nerves. He was better at controlling his emotions than Kushina. Again silence fell over them, but Naruto broke it. Is there any more questions? Naruto asked. He was now feeling it hard to control his raging emotions. No more questions, Kushina said, still looking down. Naruto stood up. Thank you, he said. Kushina slipped an adjoining receipt towards him, and Naruto took it and put it in his pocket without looking at it, and started to leave but stopped when he heard Kushina speak. Naruto, she called, and Naruto stopped at her calling and raised an eyebrow, wondering why she was stopping him. Naruto turned and a confusion look appeared on his face when she didn't say anything. Kushina took a very long breath and looked at him. You didn't check the receipt I gave you. Take it out and take a look at it, Kushina said, gathering all her courage not to falter. Naruto frowned and did as asked. Maybe she has chosen me for the job. Damn it, I am hungry now, he thought, and took the receipt out and looked at it. He didn't see anything unusual. His name, address, age, and his high school name, the briefing of the work and the salary, and the information that he was accepted for job. Everything was okay. He looked at Kushina. Thanks for accepting me, he said, and Kushina sighed. Look at the bottom right corner, Kushina said. Naruto looked at the bottom right corner, and it was the column for office use only. There were several signs, but when his eyes reached the last signature, his eyes widened from shock. He froze and his eyes watered immediately. Was this real, or he was in a dream? He tried to blink the tears away. He was still looking at the receipt at the last signature that read Kushina Uzumaki. Naruto slowly lifted his head and saw that Kushina has her arms spreading towards him. She also had tears in her eyes now. Why, you said you will gladly go with your real mom if she has her arms open for you. So here your mother is spreading her arms for you to come and quench her heart that missed her baby boy every moment of these years. Your real mother never forgot about you, she said, now openly crying. Naruto's mind was still trying to comprehend the fact that his mother was in front of him. He looked at her. The face he vaguely remembered was now slowly started to completely clear in his memories. He now understood why she seemed familiar, and why she was asking those questions. She wanted to know that he would accept her or not. The receipt slipped from his hands. Naruto took a step toward her, then second, and then he ran towards her, and jumped in her arms and buried his face in her. Kushina fell back on her seat, and wrapped her arms around him tightly, not wanting to let him go again. Mother and son cried for what seemed like hours. Naruto had his head buried in her, and she buried her face in his spiky red hairs. Kushina let her emotions go wild completely for the first time in so many years and cried, and the same could be said about Naruto. For the first time both mother and son find solace and comfort in each other's arms and let their built-up emotions out in the open and let their emotional scars started to heal. Both of them cried for almost an hour. After an hour both stopped crying, just occasional sobs and hiccups remained. Kushina broke the hug briefly, take a look at her son's face, and she kissed his forehead. Naruto had tears in his eyes. Kushina kissed his tears away and then kissed every inch of his face, his forehead, his eyes, his nose, his lips, his ears and both of his cheeks. Kushina hugged him tightly again and put his face on her and buried her face in his spiky red hairs. Naruto was exhausted from all the emotions and hunger and fell asleep in her arms. His head on her soft cushions, and she still had her face buried in his hairs. Kushina moved him in her lap and his face in the crook of her neck and his arms around her, and her arms around his back, hugging him tightly to her body. Kushina also fell asleep in the same position. Kushina didn't know how long had it been. It's been 2 hours already. So 1 hour after sleeping and 3 hour total passed. Kushina's eyes opened immediately when she heard the click of the door. Yugao entered in the room, and when she saw the sight she froze. Mom, Yugao stuttered. Yugao was the lead accountant now. Kushina looked at her and smiled. Yugao, what is it? Kushina asked. Mom, it's been 3 hours. I was wondering what was taking you so long, Yugao answered, wondering what that boy doing in Kushina's lap. Kushina continued to caress his hairs and back. She gave Naruto a kiss on the head and smiled. Naruto snuggled more closely to her, if that was even possible. Then she looked at Yugao. Yugao, everything is alright here. You can go back, and I don't want to be bothered by anyone today, Kushina said and dismissed. Yugao went out to her own devices. Kushina again kissed his head and decided to go home. Kushina tried to woke Naruto up. Hey baby, Naruto, Kushina said, and Naruto stirred in his lap. He didn't wake up but tried to bury his head in her, mumbling something incoherent. Kushina giggled and tried again. Honey, wake up, let's go home, Kushina said and nudged Naruto. Naruto slowly opened his eyes and felt good after so many years. He noticed that his head was on something soft. He lifted his head and saw that Kushina was smiling at him. Naruto tried to stand up but Kushina tightened her grip on him. Naruto looked at her in wonder. Where are you trying to go? I have met you after so many years. I won't let you go away now even for a bit, Kushina said, and Naruto's eyes started to fill up again. Kushina shook his head. No baby, you know I can't see tears in your eyes. Don't cry. I won't let you cry anymore. I wasn't able to do anything that time, but now I won't let even God separate us. I will do everything I can to keep you with me. So don't cry anymore. We will stay together always, promise, Kushina said, tearing herself, but then Naruto's stomach growled from hunger, and both of them chuckled while crying. Okay, let's go out and have something to eat and then let's go home. Our home, Kushina said, and she felt like her heart will burst when she said our home. She won't be alone anymore, and Naruto nodded. Kushina pecked his forehead and let him get up off of her lap. Kushina grabbed her belongings and grabbing Naruto's hand tightly and walked out. She didn't spare anyone even a brief glance, but everyone looked at her. She headed straight to the parking out of the office building. Kushina reached parking lot and walked towards her car. It was a blue Nissan. They entered in the car and Kushina drove out of the parking. Naruto was sitting in front seat, and it was his first time sitting in a car, so he was excited. He looked out of the window and was fascinated by the objects, cars and peoples as they were blurring with the car's speed. Kushina looked at him and smiled. His face was other side so she couldn't tell. Naruto, what are you doing? She asked softly, smiling. Naruto immediately sat back on his seat in fear, but then he realized where he was, and then sighed. Sorry, he muttered loud enough for Kushina to hear. When Kushina heard his sorry, she sighed and after some seconds glanced at Naruto. He was looking straight ahead without any emotion on his face. Kushina's smile had already disappeared and she felt like crying again but stopped. She pulled the car to the side and stopped and looked at Naruto. Naruto, wondering why she stopped, looked at her, and his eyes met hers. Kushina took one of his hands in her and brought it to her lips and placed a soft kiss to his palm. Naruto, I am your mother, and that gives you some rights, like you can get angry with me, you can ask me anything if you have something to ask, you can come to me if you have any problem, and most important thing, there is no place for a sorry or thank you between a son and a mother. These things are for outsiders. You can be totally frank with me, and do you remember how we used to live? Kushina said and asked, and Naruto nodded. I don't remember clearly, but I knew we were inseparable, Naruto said with a smile on his face, which brought a smile on her face too. I want us to be like that again. You have rights to annoy me and ask whatever smart or idiotic questions you want to ask without any hesitation and any time, Kushina said, and Naruto nodded. So what were you seeing outside, she asked, and started her car again. It's first time I have sit in a car, so I was a little excited over the scenery outside, Naruto said, looking out of window again. Kushina nodded. See, was that hard, and was there any need to say sorry, Kushina asked, and Naruto just smiled. 1 minute later, Kushina spoke again. You know what, your college has still a week to start, so I will take a leave and we both will go out for everywhere we can. Is it okay with you, she asked, and Naruto nodded immediately. I would love that, Naruto said. 30 minutes later, Kushina stopped at a small family restaurant, and pulling the car to the side, they got out and entered in the restaurant and sat on a table. Kushina ordered every famous and high-quality dish of that restaurant, and Naruto's eyes widened seeing so much on the table. Naruto kept staring at the foods. What are you waiting for? Diggin, Kushina said, and started to eat, and Naruto did the same. Though Kushina was eating, but whole time she kept looking at Naruto. His every action, she wanted to feed him by her hands, but she would have more time for that later. She wasn't that hungry anymore. Her hunger was overcome by the happiness and excitement of seeing her son and being with him after so much long time. Naruto was eating fast. Though he had manners, but it was his first time he had ever tasted so tasty food and full stomach, so he was hardly controlling his eating pace. His face had some food on it, and his cloths were all covered by food. The front of his shirt and pant were soaked in soups, and Kushina didn't mind it at all, not even one bit. How long has it been since she had seen him eaten like that? She was smiling and savoring the moment, and she was sure she would savor every moment from now on, and won't let anyone ruin their lives again. Half-hour later, Naruto burped loudly, a satisfied look on his face. Kushina giggled and Naruto looked at her, and for a moment his smile disappeared when he noticed what a mess he had made. But soon he remembered the words of his mother in the car, and a face-splitting grin appeared on his face. That was amazing. My stomach is full after a long time, he said, wiping his mouth from the sleeve of his shirt. The same shirt he wore for the interview. He noticed that his mother was still looking at him. Her elbow was on the table and her chin resting on her palm, and she was staring at him smiling, a dazed look on her face. Naruto waved his hand in front of her. Hey mom, on Earth, he said, and Kushina blinked. I am on Earth. Don't worry. I am just so happy I can't describe, she said in a soft voice. Yeah, me too. I love you, mom, Naruto said, a little hesitating, and Kushina's eyes welled up immediately. Naruto looked at her and thought that he shouldn't have said that, but before he could say anything she spoke. I love you too. All the time, all these years I wanted to hear that from you, Kushina said, and tears slid down to her cheek. Naruto stood up and rounding the table sat beside her, and wrapped an arm around her waist, pulling her towards his small frame. You know, as much as you wanted to hear those words from me, I wanted to hear from you and say to you, Naruto said, and Kushina nodded. I know you must have, Kushina said, and they sat in silence for a minute. Then a waiter came. Do you need anything else, mom, he asked and sighed, looking at the mess. No, thank you, just give me the bill, Kushina said, and the waiter nodded. After 5 minutes, Kushina paid the bill and they walked out hand in hand. They sat in the car and Kushina started to drive. She took a glance at Naruto and saw him smiling and smiled. Where are we going now, mom? Naruto asked, wondering where they were headed now. We are going home, Kushina said. Her smile didn't falter even for a second. After 30 minutes later, they reached home and drove in the garage and got out and walked to the main gate of the house. Naruto stopped and took a look of the house. Well, it's not big, but I was alone, so Kushina tried to say, but Naruto cut her off. Mom, I don't need a big house, he said, and looked at her and hugged her. His height was much smaller than her. His head was coming to her. I can live in just one room if you are there, Naruto said, and looked up smiling. Kushina's eyes welled up hearing him, and she hugged his head tightly to her. Kushina broke the hug and kissed his head. Okay, let's go inside, Kushina said, and Naruto nodded. Kushina opened the door, and they entered in the house. Naruto, as he entered inside, his head automatically started to look around. A small living room with attached open kitchen, and in front of the gate were stairs leading to the first floor. Well, Kushina asked. It's perfect, Naruto said. Kushina grabbed his hand and took him upstairs. Let's see the rooms, she said, and Naruto nodded. There are 3 rooms. One is occupied by me and other 2 is empty. You can take one of the 2 empty rooms, or Kushina suggested, and then trailed off. Naruto looked at her and raised an eyebrow. Or, he asked. Kushina started to look everywhere but Naruto. Well, you are not small anymore, so never mind, Kushina tried to evade. Mom, was you suggesting me to sleep with you? Naruto asked cautiously. Kushina sighed. Well, when you were little you used to sleep and cuddle with me all the time, and it's been a long time, so I just want to hold you in my arms, Kushina said, looking to the side. Naruto smiled. He too wanted to be with his mother all the time if he could, and he had only 1 week left to catch up with lost time before his school starts. Which one is your room? Naruto asked, and Kushina's head snapped towards him. She couldn't form the words. Well, as much as you want to hold me, I want to hold you too. I want to be with you all the time, Naruto said, and Kushina again hugged him tightly to her. They entered the room, and Naruto noticed that the room was big with a king-size bed and other items which belonged to his mother. But there was a problem. Where would he put his items? He turned to his mother, who was thinking something. Hey mom, where would I put my things? He asked, and Kushina came out of her thinking, but she heard him. That's a problem. If we put your things in this room, There wouldn't be any space left, Kushina said. Started to think again, but 1 minute later when she couldn't think of anything she decided to leave it for a later time. They sat on the bed talking about their lives. Naruto told her everything that happened with him. He told her that he lived in that house like he was alone without any parents. He didn't have any friend except few. And how he searched for the job and Kurinai-sensei gave him Enko-sensei's address and how she told her about the job and how they met. Kushina heard Naruto with full attention. She was angry on Minato to say the least, and she was sad that he had only 1 or 2 boys whom he could call his friends. And she also decided to meet those 2 senseis when the time comes and thank them, especially Enko since she was the one who gave him the address. So what about you, Mom? Naruto asked, and they didn't realize the position, but Kushina was sitting with her back against the headboard of bed and Naruto was half lying on her and half on bed and his head on her. Well, after I came here I was totally broken mentally, and I didn't feel like doing anything, but we can't live without food and for that we need money, so I started as an orphanage teacher. Kushina then told him how she got to where she was now. And now I will call it fate because I didn't want to handle those interviews, but somehow the situation turned and I had to take interviews and I met you, Kushina said, caressing his hairs. Yeah, you are right. It's fate that brought us together because Kurinai-sensei told me about Enko-sensei and she sent me to your company. It all seems like pre-planned by God, Naruto said, supporting her statement. Whatever it is, I am so happy that I can't describe in words, Kushina said and kissed his hairs. Me too, Naruto said and snuggled more to her soft bosom. Then suddenly a question crossed his mind. Hey Mom, it's your personal matter but you didn't tell me if you are in an Kushina finished Naruto's sentence. Relationship. Why yeah? Kushina sighed. She knew Naruto would ask her about it, and now there was no avoiding. Well, before, I didn't have any intention to date anyone or getting in any kind of relationship with anyone except friendship, but I was lonely and alone in the world. There was no one to share my happiness and sadness at home. I have friends at office, but they were just those office friends. It's not like I don't get along with them. I go to parties and get together, but I wanted to share my feelings with someone, so 2 months ago I accepted one offer out of many. He is a board member with 20% shares. And good looking, but after your father's betrayal I just couldn't trust any male, so I accepted his offer with some conditions. Kushina told him everything and the conditions. There was a silence for a minute, then Naruto broke it. What's his name? Naruto asked, and Kushina could tell she heard some edge in his voice, or it was just a misunderstanding. His name is Hyuga Hayashi, Kushina answered. Hyuga seems familiar, Naruto muttered and wrapped his arms around her waist. Well, in 2 months I haven't let him even hug me intimately. Just holding hands and brief hugs, but I can tell he wants more, Kushina said, like as if he was his father, and she was confessing her affair to him. Was it because of that change in his voice? She didn't know, she thought. Silence fell over them and for a minute no one said anything. Then Naruto broke the silence again. So what do you intend to do now? He said and buried his face in her. I thought there would be only 2 of us, Naruto said with disappointment that didn't go unnoticed by Kushina. Kushina smiled and kissed his hair. There will be only 2 of us until you don't want a third person in our life, Kushina said, and Naruto smiled. I love you so much, Mom, Naruto said and smiled. But right now he is my boyfriend, so I can't just go and tell him that it's over without any valid reason, Kushina said, and Naruto nodded. I understand. I will let you handle it yourself as you see fit. I won't interfere, Naruto said, and Kushina smiled. Thanks, and I don't think our relationship of friendship, or whatever it is, will last long since I was not interested in dating someone to begin with. It's just, well, she said and trailed off. You don't need to give me any clarification, Mom. Everything is in your hands, me too. So it's up to you how you use it, Naruto said, and Kushina again kissed his head. Silence fell over again, and Kushina looked at the watch. It was 5 p.m. in the evening. So you have 1 week, Kushina asked, and Naruto nodded. Okay, I will take leave for 1 week and we will spend it together, Kushina said, and Naruto looked at her. Really, Naruto asked, and Kushina nodded. Yeah, we can stay home, or can go for visiting places and amusement parks and just walk in the night or day on anything, Kushina said, looking at him, and her face suddenly became somber. I want you to enjoy your age, Naruto. You don't need to be smart in front of me. You don't need to show manners to me. I just want you to be yourself and enjoy. Go out with your friends and play and other things that you should have been enjoyed by now, but don't worry, you can leave every serious matter to your mom, Kushina said, and Naruto's eyes welled up. Naruto moved upward to give a kiss on her cheek, and Kushina leaned down at the same time to give a kiss to his forehead, and the timing seemed to want something else. Naruto's head moved upwards and Kushina's head leaned down, and their target where they were going to kiss missed, and their lips touched to each other, and their eyes widened. They stayed in that pose for almost a minute. Both of them wanted to break the kiss, but it was like their lips were glued and their bodies were frozen and numb. An electric jolt ran through their bodies. Kushina's right hand came up and cupped his cheek and again tried to break it, but she felt like her body had lost all strength, and after some seconds, in defeat, they both closed their eyes and savored the feel of each other's lips with pounding hearts. Then suddenly Kushina's phone rang, and that brought them back to real world and broke their kiss. Annoyance and disappointment was evident on both of their faces, but they tried to hide it from each other, more Kushina than Naruto. Naruto leaned down on his previous place, on her, and closed his eyes. Kushina looked at the screen inside. It was Hayashi. She swiped the green receive button on the screen and put it on her ear. Hello, she said. Hello, Kushina. Where are you? And you rushed out from office like it was some kind of emergency, and who the hell was that fucking brat? Did he do anything to you? Hayashi ranted on the other side. Kushina didn't say anything and listened. She was sure now that it was over. How the hell he dared to foul-mouthed her son? She would have slapped him if he was near her. Hey Kushina, are you listening? Hayashi yelled on the other side. Hayashi, tell boss that I will be on leave for a week with that boy or I will tell him myself, Kushina said coldly, stressing the word with that boy, and ended the call. What the fuck? Hayashi shouted when the call ended. He was burning with anger. Kushina called her boss and told him that she will be on leave for a week. She sighed, caressing his hairs. She felt his breath became even and she smiled. He is already asleep. All the events of the day might have exhausted him, she thought, and also decided to sleep. She slid down on the bed and kept Naruto's position steady over her body. Now she was lying on her back with Naruto lying half on her and half on the bed. Then they both dozed off. Naruto woke up and slowly opened his eyes but then snapped them open and sat up immediately, and saw that he was alone on the bed. In the panic he didn't register it wasn't his dorm room or bed. Was it all a dream? He muttered and his eyes welled up and he fell back on the bed with tears running down on his cheeks. Then he noticed that the bed under him wasn't hard, it was softer and spongy. He quickly sat up again and examined the bed. It's not dorm bed, he thought, and looked around. It's not my room, he thought, and remembered that he had seen the same room in his dream. Then suddenly he heard the shower running and his eyes widened. Tears again welled up in his red eyes and slid down his already stained cheeks. He immediately got off the bed and rushed towards the bathroom hurriedly, and opening the door barged in it. Kushina had woken up half-hour earlier than Naruto, and she too thought it's a dream, but when she saw Naruto sleeping on her, she calmed down. She cautiously got off the bed and giving a kiss to his forehead, went to freshen up and decided to shower. She yelped when Naruto barged in the bathroom and immediately tried to cover her large in her groin. Naruto, what are you doing? Kushina exclaimed with a flushed face, but her posture turned serious when she saw his face, full of tears. Naruto, what happened? Why are you crying? Kushina asked, and pushing the modesty in the back of her mind for a second she removed her hand from her and lifted a towel from the hanger, and wrapped it around her, which pushed her large upward in the tight confinement of the towel. She walked to Naruto, and Naruto immediately latched on her, hugging her tightly, and burying his face in her. Kushina wrapped her arms around his head, and caressed his hair. I thought it's a Naruto started. Dream, Kushina finished. She sighed. I am sorry. I must have known that you too would think it's a dream. I must have stayed there until you had woken up, Kushina said regrettably. Naruto looked up from her. No mom, it's alright, he said, flashing his grin which made Kushina smile. She patted his back. Okay, now then you have come in the bathroom, then take a shower. I have already had mine, so I am going out to prepare breakfast, Kushina said, and started to move, but she stopped at the gate and looked back over her shoulder. And Naruto, next time knock before entering, don't just barge in. You scared me, you know, she said. Naruto nodded and said sorry. After half-hour later they were sitting on the couch already having breakfast, discussing about how they were going to spend the time before his classes. They started their escapades with amusement parks. They spent one whole day in amusement parks and they sat on every kind of swings and wheels. Then they had lunch and dinner there in a nearby restaurant. They returned home in the night at 10 p.m. They were totally exhausted. They fell on the bed and immediately fell asleep. So every day they would select and go on a new adventure and have fun all day. They went for boat riding in water and spent whole day in water since they had brought every necessary things like food with them. After that they visited shrines and other religious spots for a day. Then one day they didn't feel like going out, so they cleaned the house all day while doing other small fun activities with cleaning. One day they ride bicycles and Kushina showed Naruto around the area, the shops, the malls, and which shop is where, medical, grocery, etc. Next day they visited every mall to buy cloths and accessories for Naruto, and some new cloths for Kushina. They also ordered some new things to add in the bedroom for Naruto to put his things. And next day they broke the wall separating Kushina's room and the room next to it, and merged them as a one single room and placed Naruto's things to the new space. The only thing that didn't change was the bed. They decided to share it, and they also wanted to be close, so they decided to just go with it. So like this they spent the week before Naruto's high school classes were due to start. Whole week Kushina didn't take any calls from anyone, though she read messages in her phone. She also got Naruto a multimedia and multitasking smartphone. The first day of Naruto's school, Kushina woke up with a yawn and stretched. She looked to her side where Naruto was sleeping. She turned towards him and stared at his face lovingly with a smile on her lips. She brought her hand upward and put it on his cheek and started to caress it. She still was having problems to believe that the person sleeping with her, beside her, was her son Naruto. The whole week passed like a blur. She was feeling like she just saw her son. She sighed in contentment and smiled and kissed him on the cheek near his mouth. And this kiss brought the memories of the first kiss she shared with her son. At that time she had frozen, but now her thoughts lingered around the kiss. It was unexpected and by mistake. But she couldn't deny the fact that the kiss sent an electric jolt in her whole body. How long had it been since she kissed someone? She couldn't remember, and she knew that somewhere deep, that kiss did something to her, and she couldn't put her finger on it. She had felt like something had awakened in her body which had been slept after her ex-husband's betrayal. If that phone hadn't rung, then it sure would have been an awkward situation. The call distracted their minds and no one mentioned it again. Her long fingers, which were caressing his cheek, came to his lips and her thumb rested on his lips, rubbing them softly. They were soft, obviously. Unconsciously, her face started to lean forward and slowly inched towards his face. She could feel her body getting hot, and just when her lips were centimeters away from his lips, she stopped and closed her eyes. What the hell she was doing, she berated herself. He was her son. She couldn't possibly have these kinds of feelings towards his baby boy. It was totally wrong. She leaned back and put her head on the pillow and stared at the ceiling. Hey God, I know what I am feeling is wrong, but what should I do then? Should I suppress and ignore these arising feelings? I will do it if it's for my son's sake. I want to give him every happiness of this world and I will do anything for him, but to have these kind of feelings. No, I shouldn't, but if he also started to have these same feelings, then I wouldn't be able to suppress them anymore. It all depends on fate. I will just go with it. If my son ever desired me in that way, then I won't hesitate, and if he finds another girl, I will bury these feelings deep down in my heart, but first I need to make sure that Naruto wouldn't hide those feelings from me. She thought long and hard and exhaled loudly. Half-hour later, Naruto opened his eyes and immediately looked around him. First left, nothing. And then right, and he smiled widely when he saw two violet orbs were staring at him lovingly. It's not a dream, it's true, Kushina said and put her hand on his arm. Naruto snuggled closer to her and buried his face in her neck, feeling content, and closed his eyes. Kushina giggled. Naruto, you have school today, you know, Kushina said, caressing the back of his head. Naruto groaned and tried to snuggle more closer, if that was even possible. And I also have to go to office, Kushina said with disappointment that didn't go unnoticed by Naruto, who was half asleep. Naruto groaned again but didn't say anything. They stayed like that, Naruto above her, his face in her neck and Naruto's arms around her. Kushina stopped caressing his hair. Hey Naruto, I wanted to ask you something, she said in a serene tone, and Naruto noticed the worry and sadness hidden behind it. Yeah, what is it? Naruto asked from her neck. Kushina exhaled. You will start to go to school from today and you will make new friends, and then you will another part of your life that is completely separated from me. And you will have secrets and new problems. And Naruto cut her off. Mom, tell me directly, he said and felt her sigh. Naruto, I want you to promise me that you won't hide any kind of problem from me, and I mean anything. Like school-related, homework-related, teacher-related, any friend-related, girl-related, related to me, every problem. I know there are some things that boys likes to keep secret from their parents, but I want you to share your every problem with, no matter what kind it is, she finished and waited Naruto's response. Naruto smiled on her skin and she could feel his lips moving on her neck, sending tickling feeling in her body. Mom, don't worry, I promise you. I will not hide my problems from you, but only if you do the same, Naruto said in a serious tone. Naruto, I am the parent here. And a parent bears the burden of their problems themselves, not with their child, Kushina asked in same serious tone. Then forget about the promise, Naruto said sharply. If she wanted to share his problem, then how could he let her go through all her problems by herself? Kushina sighed and brought her arms around his back and wrapped them tightly around him, mashing his body with hers, and stayed like that for a minute. Okay, I promise, Kushina said with a smile. I promise too then, Naruto said, lifting his head from her neck and looking in her violet eyes. They fell silent after that, and he again buried his head in her neck. Naruto, we are letting late, Kushina said when he put his head back on her neck. Naruto sighed and loosened his grip on her waist, which he was holding as a support, to snuggle closer. He lifted his head from her neck and closed his eyes, and then opened and looked at Kushina, smiling. He sat up and, turning towards his mother, gave her a good morning kiss on the cheek. She too sat up and got off the bed. You can go to shower and I will prepare breakfast in the meantime, Kushina said, and Naruto nodded and went to bathroom, and Kushina went to kitchen downstairs. 1 hour later they were sitting on the dining having their breakfast. Kushina had packed his lunch and given to him. 5 minutes later they were in front of their car and then entered inside. Kushina drove along the road as she looked at Naruto. So, you know anything about the school? I mean, how are the teachers and the guys there? Kushina asked, looking straight ahead to the road. Naruto thought for a moment. Well, I have heard from Kurinai-sensei that it's good. It's not the best but affordable. Naruto told her what he had heard from Kurinai. So what about the teachers? Kushina asked. I don't know. I have only met Enko-sensei, who teaches there, and she is certainly one of my class teacher. That's why she said to meet in the class. And oh my god, Naruto stopped and remembered the share of his salary he promised to give her. What happened? Kushina asked, immediately worried. Naruto then told her everything about the deal. Kushina kept driving for a minute and took a turn and then again drove straight. You know what? Today you invite her for dinner. Tell her someone wants to meet her, Kushina said, and Naruto wondered what she was thinking, but he nodded nonetheless. 5 minutes later, Kushina pushed the brake and stopped the car in front of the school. Naruto came out and rounded the car from front and to driver's side. Okay, I will pick you at 4, Kushina said, calculating the time she would need to leave from office. Alright, Naruto said, and leaning down kissed her cheek and leaned back smiling. See you later, Kushina said, giving Naruto a flying kiss. Naruto smiled and entered in his new high school. Naruto watched as the students walked in groups. He felt surprised to see that the students had already made groups. Then Naruto's wondering eyes caught sight of his middle school classmate Shikamaru, then Ino, then Chozi, and his eyes widened when he noticed that his whole old class was there. He grinned and ran towards them. "Hey Naruto," Shikamaru said, and Naruto nodded and hi and hello were transferred to each other. Then someone put a hand on his shoulder, and when Naruto turned he saw it was Sasuke glaring at him, and Naruto glared back. The contest of glaring continued for a minute, then Sasuke smirked. "What are dobes like you doing here?" Sasuke said, like school was too much for Naruto to afford. "I can ask the same to you now." Naruto fired back the same question, smirking. Sasuke chuckled coldly. "For your information, my father is one of the sponsors of the school who finances the school," Sasuke said as if he won a war. Now Naruto knew that Sasuke has the upper hand, and if he tried to do anything rash it could bite back, and he didn't want it to create problem on his first day. Suddenly someone wrapped an arm around his shoulder. Naruto immediately looked to the side and flinched when he saw that evil smirk on Anko that promised pain. Naruto forgot about Sasuke immediately and his full concentration towards her. He was nervous. He tried to say but couldn't and gulped. "Oh Naruto," she said, leaning down and unwrapping her arm. "Creating problems at first day," Anko said, and hearing it Naruto became serious. "I am sorry, it won't happen again." "Anko-sensei," Naruto said, looking in her eyes. Anko could see the seriousness, but what could she do? She had a deal with him. "Well, I haven't come here to give you a lecture," she said, and brought her face closer to him, making him pink. "I wanted to remind you about the deal," Anko said, smirking sinisterly, and leaned back. "Well, your class is about to start. We will talk in the lunch. Come to the cafeteria. You won't have any problem finding me. I will be sitting alone in the cafeteria." Anko told him the dealing place, and before he could say anything she walked away. Naruto sighed and also walked in with his classmates. It was attendance time, and when the attendance was being taken, Naruto was surprised to know that each student in the class was his old classmate, including some new students. Suddenly Naruto heard a name, Sakura Haruno, and his eyes widened. Haruno, it was the surname of his stepmother. And like a tornado it hit Naruto that his first crush in middle school was his stepsister, but it didn't do anything except increasing his hate towards his stepmother and Sakura. Does she know about his mother? Does she know what she is doing? He needed to find out. He decided to ask her in lunch. The day went on, and it was lunchtime and lunch bell rang. The teacher walked out and Naruto immediately went to Sakura and stood across her seat and in front of her. Sakura looked up and raised an eyebrow. "I am not going out with you, thickhead," Sakura said irritatingly. Naruto ignored her comment. "I want to talk to you about something serious and private," Naruto whispered so that only she could hear. Sakura narrowed her eyes. "And what actually is this serious matter?" Sakura asked, almost snapping. She thought it was his new way to ask her out. "I am not going to ask you out anymore. It's another matter, so come with me," Naruto said between gritted teeth. He didn't want to talk to her, but he wanted to know answers of some of his questions. He grabbed her wrist and took her out of the class and corridor, and stood near a window. Sakura looked at him apprehensively, trying to understand what was going in his head. "Now talk fast. I don't want to waste my precious Sasuke time with idiots like you," she hissed. Naruto glared at her icily and looked in her eyes. "Your full name is Sakura Haruno, right?" Naruto asked in a low tone. "Yeah, so what?" Sakura answered with annoyance. Naruto nodded. "What is your mother's name?" Naruto questioned her, and her eyes widened, and seeing the shocked expression Naruto smirked, but he was still thinking about it. Did she know what her mother was doing, or she was not aware of it? Sakura stuttered. Naruto leaned closer. "Mabuki Haruno, right?" Naruto whispered in her ear, and she froze. "And you don't know where she is, right?" Or Naruto leaned back, narrowed his eyes. "You are with her in all that occurred in last few years," Naruto whispered darkly. He hated the girl in front of him so much that he wanted to rip her to shreds. He clenched his fists tightly and took deep breaths and calmed down. "Answer me," he asked with so much intensity in his voice that she trembled and started sweating profusely and started to stutter. "Well, then I would consider your incapability to answer my questions as a yes," he said calmly this time. Sakura looked everywhere but him. I have to go," she mumbled and ran towards the class. "I need to talk to Mom about this. It seems some kind of scandal. Damn it, why didn't my attention go to her last name till now, or I never heard her last name," Naruto thought, and walked towards his class. 5 minutes later lunch finished and everyone was seated when the teacher entered. He introduced himself as Irika. He seemed a good teacher to Naruto. After his class it was his last theory class and the teacher was Anko. "Damn it," Naruto muttered when Anko entered in the class. She introduced and told them that she would teach them chemistry. Naruto looked at her, and he sighed when he noticed the sad look on her face. He noticed she was ignoring him completely. She went out after finishing the class. She is mad and sad. I can understand mad, but why sad, he thought, and decided that if he got free time he would talk to her. If she is like that because he didn't give her money. After one chemistry practical class in chemistry laboratory, which was also obviously handled by Anko, Naruto kept taking glances at Anko, but she didn't even acknowledge his presence, and it didn't seem right to him. She seemed a cheerful person before, and that sad look didn't suit her. He sighed, what he was thinking. He decided to say sorry as soon as he gets the chance. The practical class finished, and it was the end of the day and time to go home. Naruto waited for his mother outside of the school. It was still 10 minutes to 4. 5 minutes later his mother's car pulled in front of him, and the driver's seat window glass lowered and she peeked out. She smirked. "Hi, handsome. Waiting for someone?" she asked flirtingly. Naruto also smirked and walked closer to the car. "Yes, I am waiting for a pretty lady to pick me up," Naruto said and leaned down on driver window. Kushina's smirk widened. Oh really, but it seems she is just making you wait, Kushina said, lifting her arm and grabbing his tie pulled his face closer and winked at him. It seems like that, but I don't mind waiting, Naruto said with excitement. He liked it whatever they were playing. Kushina then smiled and then grinned. You know what, why don't you dump her and come with me, Kushina said and leaned upward a little. We could have fun, she finished with a hint of seductiveness in her voice. Just as she said those words to Naruto, they both broke in laughter. They laughed hard. Naruto rounded the car while laughing and opening the gate entered in the car. That was great, Mom. Really, Naruto said between pants. Kushina's laughter reduced to chuckles. Yeah, you are right. She leaned towards Naruto and gave him a kiss on the cheek and pressed the accelerator. So how was your school, Kushina asked, wishing to know about his first day. Not great but not bad, Naruto answered with a sigh. What happened, she asked, and Naruto told her everything. The silence fell in the car and both of them didn't say anything. So her daughter is also in it, and if I am right, her husband too, and it seems just like you said, a scandal, Kushina thought out loudly. Then again silence. Naruto looked at his mother. Mom, I don't care what it is and I won't give up my current life for anything. Last week was the best of my life. So you don't need to get bothered, Naruto said, and a smile formed on Kushina's facial features. She brought a hand towards Naruto and patted his head while controlling the car by other hand. But you need to apologize to Enko, Kushina said, and Naruto nodded. I will do it tomorrow, Naruto said, and they both smiled. What about your day? How was it, Naruto asked, looking at her. My day was just like yours, Kushina said, giving him a brief glance and concentrating more on driving since they were in market area, and the crowd made it hard for easy driving. Really, what happened, Naruto asked, wondering what made her day like his. Hayashi, Kushina answered with annoyance, and Naruto just said, oh, and then became silent. It was like he was waiting for me to just enter in the office. He came and started to questioning me, Kushina said, as if she doesn't want it to talk about him, and Naruto could feel it in her voice, but it was about her boyfriend that he didn't like and wished it to be over as soon as possible. Seriously, what did he actually said, Naruto asked, and Kushina pulled the car in the garage. She turned the key and the engine became silent. Kushina looked at him. Let's get inside and freshen up, then we will chat, she said, and got out, and Naruto did the same. They entered in the house and it took them half an hour to freshen up and sit on the couch with a coffee in their hands with cookies. So Naruto said, and Kushina nodded and started to tell him exactly what happened. Let's go back to the morning. Kushina Uzumaki was embodiment of happiness. The happiness was oozing from her. She parked her car and got out and went in the office, and as she entered she saw Hayashi there, sitting in a chair, and seemed like he was waiting for her, and just as she entered in the cabin he sprang up and grabbed Kushina's shoulders and pushed her against the wall. Who was that brat with whom you spent a whole week alone and ignored every call of your boyfriend, he snarled. Kushina looked at him pensively and kept looking for a minute. Hayashi was still holding her shoulders in a tight grip. You don't even let me touch you, and you were walking out with him hand in hand like you were so eager to spend time with him, and I even saw you and him in that amusement park and doing all those things that I always wanted to do to you. Why? Why did you do this? He hissed from gritted teeth and pushed her harder against the wall. He was totally unaware that he was walking on thin lines. Kushina didn't know what to say. She couldn't understand why he was so jealous of a kid. But anyway, she would have told him about Naruto had he asked politely, but she had already decided what she was about to do in response of his rude behavior. She curled her right hand fingers around his left wrist and gripped tightly, stopping blood flow in his hand completely, and some second later his hand started to turn blue. Hayashi looked at his hand, which was still grasping her shoulder, and then Kushina, a passive and cold look in her eyes. Hayashi, when couldn't take the pain anymore, pulled back and cradled his right hand, turned to blue, in her left hand. He gritted his teeth in pain and stinging feeling when the blood rushed in his hand. You fucking bitch, and just as the word came out from his mouth a hand slapped his cheek so hard that it imprinted on his cheek. Kushina grabbed his collar, and using only one hand threw him in the wall, and before he could compose again she was on him, her elbow on his neck pressing it in the wall. Hayashi, I break up with you right now, she said, and a small smirk appeared on her face. I was thinking not to tell you, but now I will tell you. That boy is the most important person to me. I love him beyond the limits your pathetic little mind could ever think. I will do anything for him, and she stated coldly and leaned closer, glaring straight in his eyes. I will kill anyone who tries to either harm him or separate us, she whispered to him in an intense tone. Hayashi chuckled loudly. I never thought you were in kids, he spat, and it was Kushina turn to chuckle. You know, if a kid is better than an adult, then I am sure every woman will choose the kid, and if she has a boyfriend like you, she will surely go for another man sooner or later, Kushina stated. What did I ever do to you? I always kept my distance with you, and still you betrayed me and cheated with a fucking kid, Hayashi grumbled now. Kushina sighed. The reason for my breakup with you was your earlier rude behavior when I just entered in the cabin. I had told you that I don't trust anyone, and one mistake from you and you are out, and one more thing. She leaned closer. Bad-mouth that boy again and I will fucking snap your neck, she growled from clenched teeth. A devious glint appeared in Hayashi's eyes. Alright, I don't care and I never cared. I just wanted to fuck you for once, and I will do that anyway and destroy you. I will do it sooner or later. By your consent or forcibly, he said with lust and anger, and Kushina then slapped him hard on his other cheek, imprinting her palm. She backed and called her boss and requested for an emergency meeting immediately, and Hayashi's eyes widened in foreboding. He knew immediately what was going to happen. He started to plead to Kushina, but she ignored and started to go to the meeting room. In half hour every board member was there, all of them wondering why the meeting was called. Kushina stood up, she didn't care and she wasn't afraid of anything. Caring and fearing, these things she had removed from her 7 years ago. As you all know, Hayashi and I were dating, and due to his rude behavior and unprofessional attitude caused me to break up. He accused me for cheating on him and told me that he just dated me to take me to bed. After breaking up he threatened me that he will force himself on me, and she trailed off. Everyone was wide eyes and Hayashi had a horrified look on his face. He knew his business was finished. Kushina's boss stood up. Hayashi, how dare you to threaten my employee? You are not my employee and still I allowed to work in my office, he bellowed in anger. He has 50% share, more than anyone, so he had the authority and hold on others, but he didn't need to use that now. A board member stood up and pointed a finger at Hayashi. I propose that you and your company should be excluded from the group, he stated, and most of the members said yes. One female member proposed to hand him over to cops for threatening a coworker and sexual harassment. And the meeting was finished without any further discussion and everyone went out, leaving Kushina and Hayashi alone. Kushina walked to Hayashi and stood near him and tilted her head cutely to the left. This was a punishment for threatening me for rape, and be happy that I didn't punish you myself, otherwise you would have been lying in hospital bed right now, Kushina said and passed by him walking out, leaving a burning with anger Hayashi. And now come to the present. Naruto was hearing the events happened with his mother. For once he wanted to just go and beat the shit out of Hayashi. He was happy, but he was a little worried now. His mom had an enemy now which can hurt any of them anytime. He stood up and sitting near his mother hugged her tightly, which Kushina returned happily. Mom, you need to be extra careful now. Hayashi will surely try to harm you, and if something happened he was cut off by Kushina. Remember Naruto, no one would be able to separate us ever, she said, tightening her hold on him and staring off in the space. Kushina broke the hug and patted his cheek. I am going to take a shower, she said, and giving Naruto a kiss on his forehead stood up and walked to upstairs. Naruto watched his mother as she made her way upstairs. Naruto was looking at the back of her head and unconsciously his eyes trailed down to her neck, to her back and then her ass. Naruto shook his head to clear it, but the damage was already done, and he couldn't stop the scene flashing in his mind when his mom flirted with him, and when he was standing close to the driver window, he could see her cleavage and insides of her large confined wig. He didn't care at that time, and just moments ago, when he hugged his mother. Then too he got a peek inside her tight business shirt, and now he realized the feeling of her large mashing in his chest. Kushina wore a business skirt which came to her lower thighs and a white shirt and business suit over it. He came out of his thought when Kushina called him. And don't barge in there like that, she said, and looked back over her shoulder, and Naruto nodded. She winked. But tell me before barging in, she said, and smirked to see the stunned look on Naruto's face, and went to the shower. Did she just say what I think she said? Now she must be joking, Naruto thought, and he felt his pants tighten up. Next day Kushina dropped Naruto to his school with a kiss on his cheek and forehead, and a tight hug which made Naruto sigh. After yesterday evening's event, Naruto was more aware of her hugs and kisses. He could feel her large mashing into his chest while hugging. He could feel her smell which almost drowned him every time. But he didn't want to do anything to jeopardize his relationship with his mother, so he ignored those thoughts and like before felt on peace in his mother's arms. Naruto decided that he would talk to Anko-sensei today and apologize. So the day went on till lunch, and he didn't get even a glimpse of Anko. He wondered if she even came to school. In lunch he asked some teachers like Irika and Yugao. She worked part-time in Kushina's company and full-time teaching. Her subject was physics. Naruto asked her, and she told him that he would find her in the cafeteria. Naruto thanked her and rushed towards cafeteria. Naruto entered in the cafeteria and saw that every table in the cafeteria was occupied, but one which was occupied by Anko was empty. He walked towards her wondering why she was sitting alone. He went to her and pulling a chair sat across her. Anko was half eating and half thinking. She looked up when Naruto sat across her. Why are you here? I don't want your money anymore. You can keep it all, she said in a low voice which seemed like a hoarse voice. Naruto narrowed his eyes. Anko-sensei, were you crying? He blurted without thinking. Anko gritted her teeth in anger. She glared at Naruto nastily. Didn't you hear me? I don't need your money. You can get lost and leave me alone, she growled, and Naruto's eyes widened. Was she crying because of him? Oh shit, I made a girl cry, and before he could say anything she stood up and walked away. Naruto went after her, but she had already disappeared. Naruto sighed. He went in the class and waited for Anko's class, but later they were informed that she wasn't feeling well, so class was cancelled. Naruto stormed out of the room, immediately ignoring the teacher Mizuki in the class. He taught them English. Naruto again asked Yugao and found out that she was on the roof. He immediately rushed upstairs to the top floor and reached the roof and saw that Anko was lying there, her right arm draped over her eyes, covering her eyes. Naruto walked closer and sat down near her, staring over the fence. They stayed silent for almost a minute, then Naruto spoke. I just wanted to apologize for what I did yesterday. I am sorry. I wanted to come, but something more important came up, and when I was finished the lunch was already over, and after that I didn't get the time to talk to you, Naruto said, hoping that she would say something, but she didn't. Naruto then continued, it's not like I don't want to give you money, There's something else too. As soon as Naruto said that, Anko sprang up and faced Naruto. Listen, I know you hate me now after knowing about me, and I understand if you don't want to talk to me or come near me. So I request you to leave me alone. It would be best for both of us, Anko said a little louder, and Naruto narrowed his eyes. What are you talking about, Anko-sensei? Knowing you hate you, I don't understand. What are you talking about? Naruto asked in puzzlement. Anko snorted and looked straight over the fence towards the main gate of school. Oh come on, don't say that no one tell you about my past, Anko said and looked to the side. Naruto noticed her voice breaking a little. What past? Naruto asked in confusion, and Anko looked at him in surprise. No one tell you about me? Naruto sat there still in confusion. Anko sighed in relief. You were saying the truth about something coming up. I thought you were lying, Anko said, now feeling embarrassed. Now Naruto wanted to know about her past, for which she treated him like that. Anko-sensei, what is this with your past? I know I don't have any right to ask you, but after being treated like that I want to know, even a little, and after being treated like that I have the right, Naruto said and waited for answer. Anko sighed. Naruto, my past is not something pleasant. It's as dark as it can be. My sensei Orochimaru was a teacher in this school and I admired him more than anyone and anything. But he betrayed me. He was a criminal, murderer, a rapist, and any crime you can think of. In last days I was assaulted by him in ways I can't tell you or anyone else, and then left me. Later I was accused of his partner in crime and was shunned. I wasn't handed over to police, but my life became hell. Everyone hates me in this school. I eat my lunch alone in the cafeteria because I can't hear the filthy names and comments my co-teachers threw towards me. I tried to go to other schools, but they all knew about my past. Yesterday when you didn't come I thought someone told you about me, that's why you didn't come. Anko finished her tale in brief and Naruto could see a tear rolling down her cheek. Anko looked at Naruto expecting a disgusting look, but she was shocked to see he had a slight smile on his face. Naruto placed his hand over her, making her look at him. Anko-sensei, whatever people think about you, you shouldn't let it bother you. This world is not fair, to me, to you or anyone else. Everyone wants a scapegoat to blame for everything, but we shouldn't give up, he said and squeezed her soft hand. Anko looked at him and chuckled. You are a smart boy, she said, freeing her hand from his and wiping her tear. They both sat there in silence looking at the school ground and the road, a smile on both of their faces. Anko looked at him. By the way, why are you wasting your time here with me? You should go to your friends, Anko suggested to him, and he shook his head and smiled. I would rather stay here with you than my friends. They are a bunch of idiots who don't know what the real life is like. If I stay with you I will learn something, since you are a teacher and have more experience than others, Naruto answered, and Anko's smile broadened. And you are more than a friend to me, Naruto said, and Anko's eyes widened, but before she could say anything, Naruto cleared. I didn't mean it that way, he said, looking towards the front. You did something, and for that I will always be in debt to you, Naruto said, and Anko looked at him in confusion. What do you mean? Anko asked, tilting her head. Naruto looked at her and smiled. You are invited for a dinner at my home, Naruto said, handing her his address. Anko took it and read. After some moments he asked, so when are you coming? He asked. Anko didn't comprehend what was happening. What did she do for him? Was he trying to ask her on a date? He was just a student, and she was a teacher? I live with my mom. It was her idea to invite you for a dinner, he said, trying to make it easy for her. She might think he was trying to call a girl at home and do things with her. Anko sighed. I will call you, she said, and Naruto nodded. Okay, fine, he said, and they both became silent again. Then Naruto stood up. Okay, then I am going to class, he said, and walked away. Anko sat there thinking about the last 1 hour. First male who wasn't disgusted with her and tried to harass her. Maybe it was a start. She thought and smiled. I have free time tomorrow after school, she thought, and stood up and decided to go to her practical class. At Namike's residence, moans and groans could be heard from master bedroom, and after 5 minutes a loud cry, and it was all silent, just panting of heavy breaths of two persons who just finished their session of love-making. Minato and Mabuki were lying atop each other, sweating all over. Minato gave a kiss to her and rolled to the side panting. Mabuki stood up and went into the shower and came out after half an hour, showered, and then Minato did the same. They sat on the bed leaning against the headboard of the bed. Mabuki had some papers in her hands, and she was reading them. Minato was reading a book. It has been 2 weeks since Naruto left, and Mabuki had told Minato about it, and he just said oh and left it at that. Mabuki was the new boss of Minato's company, Konoha Industries, and she was looking out for any contract or company who could help them in any way, and just today she had gotten a call from Hyuga Clan's company, Hyuga Raw Materials Private Ltd. Hyuga's made boards, wires, capacitors and resistors and other things like that, and Konoha Industries had the engineers who converted those raw materials in usable forms like motherboards and other chipsets, drawing circuits and junctions on the boards. Konoha Industries also made various other electronic appliances. The deal between Konoha and Hyuga companies was necessary for Konoha Industries' future, since Hyuga not only promised to provide raw material on low cost, but they decided to help them financially. So Mabuki wanted this meeting with Hyuga's to be successful at any cost. She was working hard for it, and obviously Minato was working hard as much as he could to get this deal. After checking everything, they decided to sleep for the night, and ready for the meeting next day. Hayashi Hyuga had already decided to destroy Bryla Company, along with Kushina. After his company's exclusion, he sought out Minato's company, which was calling to make a deal, and he accepted. Next day, Naruto, in his lunchtime, went to cafeteria and found that every table was full. After running his eyes around the hall, his sight fell on Anko, who was sitting alone at a table. Naruto was with Chozi, Shilamaru, and Shino. He excused himself and went to Anko and, pulling a chair, sat across her and put his lunch box on the table. Opening it, he started to eat. Anko looked at him but didn't say anything and kept looking. Naruto finished his lunch and packed the box back. He frowned. He was still hungry. His eyes fell on Anko's lunch, which was untouched. He looked at Anko and laughed sheepishly. Anko-sensei, if you are not going to eat your lunch then, he said, and trailed off while his stomach growled. Anko was barely holding herself from crying. How long has it been since someone sat with her and ate lunch? She was an idiot. She knew exactly what Naruto was doing. Naruto was still waiting for her permission. The lunch bell rang, indicating that the lunch was over. Anko was still looking down. When the whole cafeteria was empty, she looked up with tears in her eyes. Thank you, Naruto, she said between sobs. She was trying as better as she could to not cry. Naruto smiled and put a hand on hers. It's alright, Anko-sensei. What are friends for, that is, if you consider me one, Naruto said, and Anko nodded immediately. So are you going to eat your lunch, Naruto asked, and Anko, smiling, slid her lunchbox towards Naruto, and thanking her, he immediately dug in. Anko kept watching him while he ate. And in just 2 minutes the box was empty. Naruto thanked her again and stood up. My class must have already started, he said, and Anko nodded, and he started to walk away. On the door he turned. And we are waiting for your call, he said, and ran away to his class. Anko was smiling a happy smile that she had forgotten a long time ago. Her friends Kurinai and Yugao did a good job to bring her out of depression. But they were busy too, she sighed. She was thinking to call him today, but something came up and decided to call him some other day. She noticed the cafeteria staff chief, who was a woman in her late 40s, sat across her. Well, I am happy to see you smiling again. Didn't I say that it might be late, but God always watch over us, she said, and Anko, closing her eyes, smiled ear to ear, showing her white teeth. It's first time God has done something good for me, she said, and stood up and left a smiling chief. A blue Nissan pulled in front of a waiting Naruto. Kushina came out as Naruto walked to the car. She immediately enveloped him in a hug and kissed him on the cheek. Naruto blushed when he felt her mother's pressing to his chest, and blood rushed to lower part of his body. He broke the hug and smiled, looking at her. Let's go home, then you can hug me as much as you want, Naruto said, and Kushina nodded with a giggle. Kushina didn't let Naruto disappear from her sight even for a second. She always kept him in her arms. She fed him herself to his embarrassment and annoyance, but he couldn't stop her. The only time he was not in front of her eyes was when he was pissing or shitting. Bathing was being interrupted occasionally. Only on school time Naruto was away from her eyes, and this was something Kushina couldn't do anything about. They entered in the car and Kushina drove to their home. Naruto looked at his mother. Mom, you are beautiful, Naruto said abruptly. Kushina smiled. Thank you, and you are the sweetest son a mother could ever ask for, Kushina said with a pink face, taking a brief glance at Naruto. After a minute Naruto asked, Hey mom, did you talk to the lawyer? Naruto asked with a serious look. Not yet, there's a problem, you know, Kushina said, looking at Naruto. What problem? Naruto asked with a speeding heart and a worry-etched tone. My friend Mikoto Uchiha is a lawyer, but when we were teenagers we both fell in love with Minato, but he only loved me. So now if she would know about the case she would obviously help me, but if Minato gave her a leg there are chances that she would turn on me at the final moment. That's why I haven't talked yet, Kushina said, and silence fell over. Kushina looked at Naruto and felt sad when he saw the worry and serious look on his face, and he was sweating a little too. Kushina grasped his hand in her and squeezed. Don't worry, my another friend also used to practice law. I will talk to her and see what happens, and if it doesn't work I will go to other lawyers, but I won't let anyone take you away from me, she said with determination, and smiled when a small smile appeared on Naruto's face. After that their remaining day was spent as every day. 1 week later, in the car Naruto and Kushina was going to their daily destination. Hey baby, yesterday I talked to my other lawyer friend and she agreed to help me, Kushina said, and Naruto's face lit up from the news. Really, he asked with a big smile, and Kushina nodded. Naruto unfastened his seatbelt, which made Kushina confused. He leaned up and wrapped his arms around her neck and kissed her cheek, making her squeak. And Naruto, I am driving, she said, but smiled. Now sit properly and fasten your seatbelt, Kushina said in a stern voice, but her smile said something else. Kushina dropped him at school and drove to her office. Her eyes glanced at the rear-view mirror and saw a black Toyota was behind her car. She had seen it half an hour ago but didn't act on it. It was obvious they were tailing her. She sped up the car over 70 and saw that her pursuers also increased their speed. She had already reached her office. She drove in the parking and went to her office cabin. She sat down and lifted a file. Opening it, she read the first page, but after one line her mind shifted to the earlier pursuit. Who were they? Why were they tailing her? Were they tailing her or Naruto? Just as Naruto's name entered her mind she stiffened. She immediately dialed Naruto's number, and it rang, but Naruto didn't receive the call. He must be in his class, she thought, gripped her phone tighter. She then messaged him to call her as soon as possible. She leaned back and tried to calm down, but her mind didn't stop creating questions. Who could it be? I never fight with anyone. I never hurt anyone. Then who? Were they from that time? Now they must have forgotten already. Then could it be Hayashi? But does he have time for this after being excluded from the group? His company needs him more than trivial things like this. She ran her hand through her sweaty red locks and sighed. Just then her boss entered her cabin. She stood up immediately. Sir, you must have called me, Kushina said, and he motioned her to sit down. Now Kushina knew that the matter was serious, otherwise he would have called her. Sir, what's the matter? Kushina asked in a professional tone. Her boss cleared her throat and nodded to his secretary, who handed Kushina a file. Kushina took it and read, and as she read the first page her eyes widened. She looked at her boss with questioning look. He nodded. Yes, Kushina. Hayashi's company's shares are the highest in cost in the market now, he said with a voice which held surprise itself. But how could it be possible, she said in a depressed voice, rubbing her temples. Kushina, your ex-husband's company has been taken over by Hayashi. I don't know what the truth is, but they are showing it like that to the world. They have leveled the cost of their products with the manufacturing cost, and I don't know how he is filling for the loss, he explained, and Kushina heard with a worried look. He continued, You remember the power cut 2 days ago, he asked, and Kushina nodded. That power cut caused thousands of people's home electrical appliances to short circuit, and now people is buying Hayashi's products on cheap price, and government has also declared to reduce electricity bills as an apology, and offer the help, he finished, and Kushina sank in her chair. What about Konoha Industries? Do you know anything about it? Kushina asked, wanting to know more about the situation, and furthermore it was her ex's company. Her boss shook his head left and right. Nothing more, just that they have announced that Konoha Industries will be under Hyuga Company. What the truth is, I don't know, but what I am guessing is that Hayashi's going to use Minato's assets and have full benefit of it, since they don't have engineers to make the components workings. Though, I think they have some but not enough experience, so Hayashi will use Minato's Industries engineers, and as you know that the raw material is the thing that matters, Hayashi is in control, but what Minato thinks I don't know. He analyzed and theorized it to Kushina, then stopped for a second and looked at Kushina intently, making her uncomfortable. But I think you would know better since you were his wife and have lived with him, so you must have a better knowledge of his tactics and scenarios. About how he works, he stated, and Kushina sighed heavily. Well, we were married for around 5 years. I was 19 when we got married, and we dated 4 years before marriage, so I had known him for 9 years. I used to take interest in business with him until I had a child, and after that I devoted all my time to my child and stopped all my business attachments since my baby needed my full attention. So I can only tell you about those 9 years, and those memories too have now faded, so I will tell you whatever I can extract from my memories, she told them. Kushina had already told her boss about her marriage, so she didn't feel much awkward, and it was also the matter of importance, so she could put the awkwardness to side for some moments. Her boss closed his eyes and nodded. All right, tomorrow I want to report about this Minato guy's ways of doing business, he said, and stood up. Okay, then you can continue your work, he said, nodding to her, and just as he reached the semi-transparent glass door, Kushina called him. Sir, I wanted to talk to you about something, she blurted, and he turned back. What is it, he asked. Kushina nodded. Well, you are aware that I need to have a court session to have the custody of my child. And now that this all has happened, whatever Hayashi and Minato are planning or not, it can be a hurdle in my case against Minato, because his company, as you had mentioned earlier, that their shares are getting high prices, then money would be nothing for them to spend, so she trailed off and looked at her boss hopefully. He smiled. Kushina, you give me your report tomorrow, and you are free until you are settled with your son, and if you need money don't hesitate to ask, he said, and a grateful smile appeared on Kushina's face. She had enough money, but it was the words. Thank you, sir, she said, and bowed respectfully. He nodded and walked out with his assistant. Kushina fell back in her chair and blew out a long sigh from her luscious red lips. She closed her eyes. Damn, Hayashi's a lucky bitch, and Minato. She opened her eyes and stared at the file lying on the table in front of her. Then suddenly her phone buzzed and her attention turned to phone. She saw the ID of the caller and immediately received the call. Naruto, she exclaimed anxiously. Hey mom, are you alright? I was in my class when you called me. I am sorry I couldn't pick it, he said with a little worry in his voice, which caused by her sudden outburst of his name. Kushina sighed. It's alright honey, are you okay, she asked. Yeah, I am alright, but mom, your breath seems erratic. Are you okay? Were you running or something, he asked, and Kushina was surprised he noticed her breath. It's nothing, just exhausted. I think I will take the half day, she said. She wasn't exhausted in body, but her mind was. She was worried for his safety, because now Hayashi didn't need to worry about his company. Mom, it's okay. I will take the bus, he said, assuring her that it was no problem. They argued on this for 2 minutes. Kushina said she could wait in the waiting room in his school, but Naruto denied her suggestion. He said her to go home and rest in a stern tone. Kushina surrendered with a chuckle. Okay, you win. I will go home, and you know I am thinking to make use of the place behind our house since it is ours, Kushina said, and Naruto nodded. What will you build in that space? Naruto asked, wondering. What do you suggest, she asked, ready to do what her son wanted. Naruto thought for some seconds. What about a swimming pool? Naruto replied. We can swim and do all fun activities, and it also would help us to relax in summers, he said with excitement. That can be a great idea. Alright, a pool then, so you could do all fun activities under the water, she said with a little teasing tone. You know what I mean by fun activities. I mean we could swim and play some volleyball, or some water polo, or some other games which you might be interested in, he said, and Kushina laughed. I know what you mean. Every game you have suggested includes a ball, so I was wondering, she replied, giggling, and trailed off. What she heard Naruto say. A teasing smirk formed on her face. Well, I was wondering whose balls would we use, yours or mine, though mine are football size, she said in a low and almost seductive voice on the phone. Naruto didn't understand for a second, then his body went red. Geez, mom, you are such a total tease, and what about you? Wouldn't you flaunting around in your skimpy bikinis trying to make all the insinuations towards me? Naruto tried to tease back. Again a smirk formed on her face. Well, indeed, I will be in a bikini all the time and all over the pool. You don't know I love swimming, and you know if you want, she said, and paused for a second and whispered in the phone. I could walk around without a bikini in front of you, and if you don't mind I can join you in your fun activities under the water, Kushina said with a little red face, but she was hardly controlling herself from laughing. Naruto's face burned red. What I think I need to go for my class, Naruto managed to say, and immediately ended the call. Kushina laughed hard for a minute in her office chair. She knew she did a little over than regular teasing. But she was having so much fun, and it's not like she was doing anything inappropriate with him. She then calmed down slowly. It was afternoon, so she decided to go home and plan for building a swimming pool. She giggled again. She stood up and walked out, waving to the people who greeted her. Soon she reached to her car and drove out of the office building. After driving for 5 minutes, she looked at the rear-view mirror, and just as she had thought, a black car was behind her car. She sighed and was annoyed. She pulled her car to the side of the road and looked at the black car, and the black car also stopped around 5 meters away from her. She contemplated her options. Either she could go to that car and see what the problem was, or call the cops. She sighed for umpteenth time. She had already decided. She wasn't your daily housewife. She was strong and a martial arts expert. She opened the door and stepped out of her car. She looked around and noticed the area was crowded. She looked at the car and started to move towards the black car. She tapped her finger on the window glass of driver's side but got no response. She sighed, irritated. She didn't want it to cause a scene, but it seems that the person inside the car was wanted a show. She tried 2 more times and tapped her knuckles on the window but still got no response, and this time she lost it. Anger surged through her body. She stood straight back and walked in front of the car. She put a finger on the front hood of the car, and she closed her eyes for a moment, then opened. She lifted her hand and rolled her business suit's sleeve up to the elbow of her right hand and flexed her fingers and nodded. She lifted her right hand in upward direction. She moved her right leg backward and left leg forward, and then brought her right hand's open palm on the front car hood, bending it inwardly in the middle. It was like a hammer, and had so much force behind it that her whole hand dug 1 inch in the hood. The engine stopped running and a green liquid started to leak from the front of the car. She stood straight, and a man in his 40s came out, immediately cursing her. You bitch, who the fuck do you think you are? And he stopped when she immediately slapped him, leaving a red print of her hand on his cheek, draining him of his determination to teach a lesson to the woman as he had thought inside the car. He took her too lightly. Kushina leaned towards him. Who are you and why were you tailing me? Answer me now, she asked with fury in her eyes and a devil look on her beautiful face. The man pissed his pants and stuttered, I don't know. We talked on the phone. All our deals were on the phone. I don't know who the man is, he said, stuttering and trembling. Tears were flowing from his eyes and the smell of his piss started to spread. Kushina backed away in disgust, shrinking her nose. She called the police and told them everything. They said they could visit her house in case they found anything, or they could call her. She gave them her number and address. She walked towards her car, and then she noticed the crowd that had gathered around 2 cars. She looked around and noticed the women have the admiration in her eyes and was awed. Not only women but men too. She opened the door of her car and entered inside, fired up the engine and drove. A shy smile formed on her lips when the shouts came from the crowd as words, cool, awesome. She drove to her home with pink face, not used to the public admiration. After 15 minutes she was in front of the school's gate, but after checking the watch she sighed. It was still 3 hours to end the school for the day. So she decided to let Naruto travel by bus for today. And again drove to home. 20 minutes later she pulled in the garage and came out and entered in the house. She threw the keys on the table in the living room and removed her business suite and unbuttoned her white shirt to 4 buttons, making her large bust to bubble out of its confines. She removed her hair tie and let her shining blood-red hair spread on her shoulders and back to her butt. She made coffee and sipped it while checking the clock again and again. It was first time when she was alone at home after reuniting with her son. She relaxed on the sofa after finishing her cup. Her mind traveled back to the time when she made a 1-inch deep palm in the car. She was angry, which was unusual. She stayed calm and cool most of the times. Hell, she didn't lose her cool like that when Hayashi tried to force himself on her in her cabin, not even when Minato brought that slut in her house and told her to leave. She shook her head to clear it. She was worried about Naruto's safety. That's why it all happened. She looked at her palm and sighed. She hadn't done any martial arts practice since her reunion. She nodded to herself and decided that she will start practice again and also start Naruto's training so that he could protect himself when she isn't around. She closed her eyes and let her mind relax and let her senses flare. Through meditation she had reached on a level where she could sense and hear faraway things. She closed her eyes and went deep in her mind, sensing everything around her. hearing sounds meters away from her, the talking and laughing in her neighborhood families. She heard crying as well as someone's moaning and groaning. She sensed the peoples in the houses, in the streets, wanderers. She heard the ticking of clock. That was weird. Her eyes snapped open and she stood up in panic, and her eyes wandered around the house examining everything suspiciously. She did not have a ticking clock. The second hand of the clock in her house was a continuous rotation, hence no ticking. Either it was neighbor's clock or, her mind raced. She concentrated on the sound and realized it, but it was too late. She ran towards the door as fast as she could, and just as she opened the door, and just as she took one step out, boom! Kushina went flying like a leaf in the wind when the shock wave hit her and her body crashed into the inside of the concrete wall very hard with some bones snapping sound, which also used as a boundary around her house, and immediately fell down unconscious, and then all the rubble fell down on her. Kushina opened her eyes woozily, and found that it was dark around her. Gathering her senses, she noticed she was under the rubbles, woods and some bricks and other materials. She tried to move her body. After checking, she realized that her right shoulder had dislocated, and her right elbow might have a fracture, and her right leg had a sharp pain in her ankle, and in her thigh was a large gash which was the source of blood loss from her body. She groaned in pain. Using her left hand, she lifted the wood splinters and brick carefully, and sat up with obvious difficulty. She shook her head to clear it, and looked around. A red liquid trailed down on her forehead to her cheek, and a sharp pain shot through her head. Damn, she hissed and grabbed her head in her left hand. After some minutes, when she got a hold of the pain in her head, she tried to stand up. She moved towards the porch and sat down. Her neighbors came running to her and tried to console her in their own ways. 5 minutes later, police and firefighter arrived with a medical team. They immediately checked her, and after 5 minutes the medical team had her shoulder fixed, her head bandaged, and her ankle was also wrapped in bandages, and the gash on her thigh was also treated. She was told that her elbow and ankle have fractures and they were swelling. Medical team asked her to go in the ambulance, but she refused, so they advised her to see a doctor as soon as possible and get a better treatment of her ankle and elbow, otherwise it could get worse. She looked at her now destroyed house with blank eyes. The front half, her garage, living room, kitchen was all gone, collapsed. What remained was the half-back part of the house. The stairs separated the two parts of house, the front, which included living room, guest room, kitchen, it was all destroyed. The back part consisted of the rooms and bathrooms they used. She sighed. At least their bedroom and bathroom was safe, and about other part, well, it was insured. Everything was insured, even her car, leaving small things like couches, sofas, television, refrigerator, living room AC, and many other things. 2 officers came to her after examining the collapsed house from several angles. They were same person whom she had called earlier to. She nodded to them. Well, did you find anything out, officer? After observing for half an hour, she asked, still looking at the rubble. Miss Uzumaki, he started. The bomb was in your car, he said, and glanced briefly at his partner. I know that already, she stated in a calm voice, which made both the officers nervous a little. They wondered why she was so calm after all that happened. It was a minor bomb, but enough to destroy 10 to 20 meter area surrounding it. Shockwaves originated after the bomb explosion also helped in the house destruction, the officer explained. After arriving at the site and finding out that it was a bomb blast, they had called a bomb squad which helped in analyzing the bomb effect. Kushina didn't say anything, she just heard him calmly. He dared to ask, Mom, may I ask why you are so calm when your house is destroyed? He asked and gulped. He didn't know why, but he felt an overwhelming aura radiating from her calm visage. Kushina looked at the officer with cold violet eyes. Officer, what's your name? She asked in a passive tone. Shirsui Uchiha, Ma'am, from SCID, he answered, stammering. He felt pathetic, stuttering nervously in front of a civilian. He was an officer from Special Criminal Investigation Department, god damn it. He thought inwardly. Shirsui, Kushina started. I don't care much about the house, though it has some emotional value for me. I will rebuild it, and I am not angry that much for that, she said, and he nodded. But I am burning from inside in the fire of anger, and you know why, she asked, and Shirsui shook his head. I don't care what they do to me, but those bastards tried to kill my son with me, and now they have declared a war against me. Those assholes better start to count their days, because when I will find them, not even God would be able to save them, she said, gritting her teeth with a little red face. Now she was getting angry, but she took deep breaths and calmed down. I don't care what happens to me, but if someone wants to mess with my son, then I will show them hell on this earth, she said calmly through clenched teeth. Shirsui had wide eyes. He could understand that she must be angry, but she was thinking to kill them, and he couldn't let her do that. It was cop's work, his work. He couldn't let her commit murder. He dared to put a hand on her shoulder. Miss Uzumaki, I can understand how you are feeling, but I can't let you commit murder, otherwise I will have to arrest you, he said, this time without wavering. Kushina sighed. She removed his hand from her shoulder, and grabbed his collar in her left hand and brought his face closer, making him blush. Officer Shirsui Uchiha, you are calling me Miss Uzumaki from the start. I told you my name, Kushina Uzumaki, she said, and with the tip of her index finger of her right hand tapped the side of his forehead and continued. Kushina Uzumaki from Uzumaki clan from the Whirlpool village, she said with narrowed eyes. Her violet eyes shining coldly, sending shivers in his body. She tapped her head 2 more times. Now force your head and think. Does the name Uzumaki rings any bell in your little head? She said with a cold smile, which was enough for him to stumble backwards several steps when she released his collar. She sighed and turned her back towards them. All right, officer. I won't do anything drastic, but I would like to help you and you to help me in finding the culprit. Then you can have your prize, she said with a smile, and Shursui smiled knowing that she wouldn't commit murder now. He nodded and thanked her, and after finishing his work they walked away. Kushina scoffed. I need information from you, officer. So until the culprit is exposed I will have to associate with you, but don't worry, the prize will be all mine, she said to herself and smiled. She looked at her phone. She had messaged Naruto to come home straight, and told him that it's an emergency. She guessed that 5 more minutes will it take for Naruto to come home a destroyed home. It was 5 in the evening and Naruto, when turned in the street, he wondered why the street was crowded. Why the people wearing yellow dresses and gears were walking here and there. He walked faster than his casual speed, and when he reached near his house his eyes widened in shock and fear. He ran towards his house, making his way through the crowd, which was not so dense. As he came out of the crowd, what he saw made his whole body numb in fear, and he fell down to his knees. Tears started to fall from his eyes. He tried to calm down. He stood on shaky legs and walked towards the debris on wobbly legs. Again he fell down to his knees and started to cry. He lost everything, he thought, and before he could drown in sorrow he felt someone wrapping their hands around his shoulders from behind. In no way Naruto could mistake that warmth and smell. He immediately turned around and met with the warm violet eyes, filled with so much warmth and affection for him. He immediately wrapped his arms around her and cried in her. There she cooed and rocked his body left-right. "I thought you'd die," he tried to say but couldn't. "SSSHHHH, I am here, don't worry about anything. I am not going anywhere. Did you forget what I said? No one can separate us now," Kushina said in a soothing and soft voice. Naruto nodded, which she could feel in her. They stayed like that for minutes. The crowd had dispersed and the cops and firemen had also returned. After 15 minutes he calmed down completely. Kushina continued to caress his back and his head for the whole time, and then they broke the embrace. Naruto looked at his mother with now something else akin to rage in his eyes. "Mom, who the hell did this? I will fucking kill," he was interrupted by Kushina putting a finger to his lips. She put a hand behind his head and pulled his face in her again. "You are still not calmed down. You need to calm down first, and I will let your swearing slide this time," Kushina said, clutching his head tightly to her. Naruto sighed and relaxed in the large soft cushions. The warmth of his mother just melted his worries and tension. The rage which was bubbling in him just washed away from her motherly warmth. He closed his eyes. 5 minutes later they again broke the hug and Kushina looked at him. "Are you okay now?" she asked, and he nodded. She kissed his forehead and wrapping her arm around his shoulder ushered him to the side and sat down. Naruto again looked at his mother and now noticed her injuries. His eyes widened. He immediately became frantic. "Mom, you are hurt. Oh God, I am sorry, Mom, I didn't notice. Your head is wrapped in bandages, are you alright? Are you hurt somewhere else?" he rambled and started to check other places. Kushina grabbed her shoulders and assured him that she was alright. "I am alright, Naruto, though my ankle and elbow is hurting like hell. Later we will have to go to see a doctor," she said, and Naruto calmed down a little, but his uneasiness didn't disappear. He looked at his mother again. "Mom, do you know who did this?" he asked, and closed his eyes to keep his anger in check. He had lifted her legs in his lap. It was dark, only a light bulb on the outside wall of the bedroom illuminating the area. "Not yet, but don't worry, I will find him sooner or later," she said, and Naruto looked at the debris. "Don't worry, we will rebuild it. I am glad our room is intact," she said in a teasing tone, emphasizing the word our room, but she frowned when Naruto didn't give any response. "Naruto, what are you thinking?" she asked, putting a hand on his head. Naruto looked at her. "When I came out from the school I saw a man standing there in all black. When I walked to the bus shelter I felt like he was stalking me," he told her, and Kushina turned serious. "I think I will need to talk to your principal," she said, and looked at the debris. "I have decided to start your training again," she said, and looked at him, and he nodded. Then their stomach growled. They looked at each other, then giggled. "Where would we eat now?" he asked, and Kushina thought for a second. "Well, first we will have to see what appliances are still working in the kitchen. Hopefully the inside of the refrigerator will be alright," she said, and Naruto nodded and started to move, but Kushina stopped him. "You will have to do this all by yourself because I can't move with a broken leg, and it's already hurting," she explained, and Naruto nodded with a smile. "It's okay, Mom. I have got it," he said, and got to work while Kushina admired him with a loving smile. Her heart melted when he called her Mom. She remembered, he used to call her Mom when he was worried about her before she left. 1 hour later Naruto and Kushina had enough appliances to cook. So they cooked in the open, under the open sky. Naruto had lost his shirt while searching for usable appliances. He was naked from above waist, sporting his lean and now muscular build. Kushina noticed first time that he was not a kid physically, though he was still short than Kushina, but she knew in coming years he would be taller than her, more than 6 foot. She felt her cheeks getting warm and she put her palms on her cheeks to hide it. She glanced at Naruto, who was eating peacefully. She blushed when her eyes traced the contours of his body. She shook her head to clear her head of indecent thoughts about her son. She had closed her own shirt's button when she regained consciousness. 15 minutes later they had finished their dinner. "Mom, I am sweating so I am going to take a shower," he said, and Kushina nodded. "Okay, Help me get to the room so I can rest, and you can go take your bath afterwards, she suggested. She was getting sleepy from the painkillers. Naruto went to her side and helped her stand up. He draped an arm over his shoulder and other around her waist. Kushina immediately felt tingling sensation where Naruto had put his hand on her slim waist, and she shivered. Mom, are you alright? He asked, and she nodded and pressed her to his side, making him more aware. But he let her have her fun. Mom, you know you should take a bath too. You are stinking from the sweat. Didn't you have a shower when you returned? He suggested and queried. Kushina shook her head in a no. I will take one later. I just want to sleep now. You just take me to the bed, she said. Her eyes were opening and closing. Mom, I also sleep in that bed, he protested. Kushina closed her eyes and her breath became steady, and her whole body was now leaning on Naruto. Naruto sighed. He lifted her bridal style and took her to the bed and laid her on it, and stood by the bed. Naruto thought to remove her shirt, and just from the thought his body started to heat up and his face turned red. The temptation was high. He knew she wouldn't wake up since the effect of painkillers wouldn't let her. He sat down near her and with both hands grasped the front button of her shirt, and opened it, revealing her creamy pink smooth skin with the start point of her cleavage. He gulped and started to sweat. What the hell he was doing, taking advantage of her mother like that while she was sleeping, his rational mind said, but his other part just rebelled that he was just helping his mother out of her cloths. Both parts clashed in his head for minutes on the topic of, to open her shirt or not. He shook his head and rushed to shower. Half-hour later he too was out cold on the bed with his mother. In a dark room, two figures were sitting across from each other, and one large table lay between them, and third figure was standing beside one with blonde hair, and his wife Mabuki Namikaze was the one standing. Minato glared at the black-haired man Hayashi, and in return Hayashi was glaring at him. Mabuki, after having enough of the staring contest, spoke. Minato, darling, will you please tell us why you have called this meeting? Mabuki asked, and Minato sighed and started. Do you know, Hayashi, what have you done? Do you even realize what have you unleashed? Minato said in a tired tone. He hadn't slept for 2 days. First, he was busy in managing his company and new contract with Hayashi. And second, he had received a court summoning letter informing him about Naruto's custody case, and the date were 2 days away only. Why are you getting so restless, Minato? I have everything in control. Don't worry, Hayashi said in a nonchalant tone. Minato shook his head in desperation. The woman whose home you destroyed. You don't know anything about her, Minato said, hoping he would at least hear him, but he was an egotistical bastard. Oh really? I have dated her 2 months. I know enough about her, he boasted with a grin, and Minato was a little surprised hearing that Kushina dated someone, but then shook his head left and right. He pointed a finger towards Hayashi. That woman, Kushina Uzumaki, was my wife for 5 years, and before marriage I dated her for 4 years, so don't ever say to me that you know her better than me. You don't know shit about her, Minato said while remembering his past, and his body shuddered when he remembered a particular memory. Hayashi was astonished hearing that his new partner is the ex-husband of the woman he wanted to screw so badly. Then he chuckled, making Minato and Mabuki confused. What, he asked. Hayashi looked at Minato with a grin. So you are the one who betrayed her and made her hate men, he said with mirth in his voice. Minato closed his eyes and sighed. He knew whatever he did in a wrong way, but it was too late. He was afraid how would he face her if she ever came in front of him, and now what Hayashi had done sowed the seed of chances of an encounter with his ex-wife. He looked at the leader of Hyuga clan in front of him. Everything aside, what do you intend to do now, because she will find you before the cops could ever find first clue, Minato said, making Hayashi tense. Hayashi looked at Minato carefully, examining him, and he could see the fear on his face. Minato, why are you so afraid of your ex-wife? Hayashi asked, dreading the answer. Minato wiped his brows off the sweat with his handkerchief and drank some water from the glass in front of him. He folded his arms above his chest and looked at his wife Mabuki. She put a hand on his shoulder. Minato looked at Hayashi. You know, when I married to Kushina I had forgotten. When I betrayed Kushina I had forgotten until this morning. I didn't remember, but when I came to know what happened to her home and she could have died, I remembered the horrible incident that happened all those years ago when I was still in college, Minato told them, and Hayashi felt annoyed by his beating around the bush. What happened, Minato? Tell me everything, Hayashi asked in agitation, but a little fear and eagerness was also there. Minato sighed. Okay, let me start from the start, he said, and closed his eyes and started to speak. Flashback. 16 years old Minato had just completed his second year, and was moved to third year of high school. He topped the class with highest marks. It was first day of his third year, and the morning was just like any other. He was sitting on his chair chatting with his classmates. The teacher entered in the class and announced the start of the day. Alright class, before starting, there's a transfer student who has just transferred here from. He stopped. I forgot. He then called the transferred student and asked to introduce herself. The boys immediately started to whisper among them and were ready to befriend of the new transfer girl. Hi, I am Kushina Uzumaki. Nice to meet you all, she said, and the class cheered. Minato looked at the new transfer girl. She was beautiful with long blood-red hairs. He thought he wouldn't hesitate to call her the most beautiful girl in the whole school. He looked at Mikoto, who has the seat behind the transfer girl. Mikoto was the only one who came close to give Kushina a challenge in beauty. He shook his head and concentrated on what teacher was saying. As time passed by, he watched Kushina and he could tell there was something about her. She was totally quiet when she entered the school, but gradually she started to open up with others. He saw that she was good friend with Makoto, and they spent all their time together. As time went on, Minato also became friend with Kushina because he was friend with Makoto, who he doubted had feeling for him, though he considered her a good friend. So she became the medium of Kushina and Minato's friendship. He was a top class and smart student. He was best in every subject, but he admitted without any reluctance that Kushina was a prodigy in programming. Creating new programs, be it a simple or complex, was like a child's play for her. He often asked for her help and she did. He was stunned when school administration requested her to help with their communication network in school and creating new software to make several tasks easy for students, and even for teachers. Soon she was handling the whole school's database and network as others working under her. But not everyone was happy with this. In 6 months she was at the point where no student ever got, and so, they planned to bring her down. Next day she was called in principal office and was suspended for 1 month as punishment for tampering with students' personal data. When she was asked that she accepts the accusations or not, she just said that she was framed. That's all she said. After 1 month, it all changed. Almost no one talked to her except her friends like Makoto, Minato, Sum and some others. So, these 3 became her precious friends. After 1 year, Minato again topped the school and then went to a university, and coincidentally, Kushina and Makoto ended in the same university. They couldn't contain their happiness and threw a party in which they called some of their university friends. The party was held in a hotel which was owned by Makoto's father. Minato was not a heavy drunker, either Kushina nor Makoto, but that day Kushina couldn't stop herself and got drunk, though she didn't lose her senses. After midnight, seeing the state of Kushina, some predatory boys who were lusting after her from the first day of her in the university decided it was time to attack the prey. They persuaded Kushina to go in a room and rest since she had drunk more than enough. Kushina agreed and walked in a room with 4 boys who had predatory smirk on their faces. After entering the room, one of the boys gave Kushina a glass of water and unknown to Kushina mixed a pill in it. Kushina drank the water and moments later she fell unconscious and the boys immediately got to work. It didn't take them more than 1 minute to rip her cloths, leaving her in only her panties and bra. They also removed their pants and shirts and took their positions around her. Then they removed her bra and their eyes shined in lust. But before they could do more, the door of the room burst open and Minato barged in the room with a baseball bat. All the boys froze and immediately covered Kushina's body to hide their act. But it was for naught since they all were in their boxers. Minato gritted his teeth. "You bastards," he said, and flung the bat at nearest boy's head that instinctively raised his hands to cover his head and took the whole impact on his forearms. The impact broke his forearms and immediately other 3 threw a sheet on Minato and grabbing the boy who just got hit ran out of the room. Minato snarled, but they were already gone. He walked to Kushina and slightly lifted the sheet to check, and seeing the naked skin of her shoulder he could tell the rest. He called Makoto and after discussing all the things that happened they shifted Kushina in another safe room. Minato wanted to complain in the police, but Makoto and her father, who she had called, requested Minato to not do that because it will destroy their hotel's reputation and requested him to persuade Kushina to do the same. They told him to finish this matter there. And they did. When Kushina came to know that she was almost raped last night, she lost it and immediately started to move. She wanted to show those assholes the wrath of an Uzumaki. She wanted to show those bastards what happens when they mess with an Uzumaki. After several efforts, when Minato and Makoto couldn't persuade her, Minato did what he wanted to do for so long but couldn't gather the courage. He grabbed her face and kissed her hard and passionately, pouring all his feelings he had for the redhead. Kushina had wide eyes and had frozen when Minato assaulted her mouth with his tongue. After a minute he broke the kiss and hugged her tight. "Kushina, I love you," he said, and waited for whatever came from Kushina. 1 minute passed and Kushina still hadn't responded, and Minato had started to get worried, but just as he was about to break the hug, her hands came up and hugged him back. Tears started to flow down from her lonely eyes. She reveled in the warm feeling of his body. It was first time after she came here that someone showed great care for her, and she accepted those feelings with all her being. Minato's feelings. It was all good for 1 week, but 1 week later Minato's view of Kushina changed. Minato was going to his apartment alone after dropping Kushina at her own apartment after a date, and having fun and some long make-out sessions. When he was on the main road riding his bike, several cars blocked his way. He stopped and looked at the 4 cars and 24 boys with 4 cars, blocking the road. Minato looked carefully, and he recognized the 4 who had attempted to rape his girlfriend. He understood the situation, but he didn't recognize any other boy. They must be from some other college since they were all dark-skinned. Minato knew there was no way he could fight with all of them even with a weapon. He could have managed 2 or 3 of them, but 24, he was fucked royally. Then they all surrounded him. He chuckled, and the one with 6 feet height and a bulky huge body grabbed the back of his head with his large hands. "What the fuck, asshole? Do you think this is some kind of circus? I am going to fuck you up badly and you are laughing," the leader snarled. Minato then clicked his tongue. "Man, I don't swing that way." Just as the word came out of his mouth he felt like a truck hit him. He spit blood on the leader's face, and some of it went in his mouth since he hadn't let go of him yet. Minato chuckled again, "How's the taste of my blood?" Minato said, and after that it started. He tried to come to his senses but couldn't. He let them hit him freely since he couldn't do anything. They took their time. They broke both of his legs and arms, stabbed on different places, wrote humiliating words on his body, and the one whose arms Minato had broken even pissed on him. Minato had fallen unconscious a long time before, but they continued to beat and mutilate his body. After 2 hours, when they satisfied with their work, they left him stark naked on the road. It was the Monday morning, 8 a.m. Kushina was getting for the college and to meet her boyfriend. Suddenly her phone rang and she lifted it. Hitting the green mark on her touch screen, she put the phone on her ear. "Hello," she said. "Is this Kushina Uzumaki?" a rough voice said from other side. "Yes," she replied. "Do you know Minato Namikaze?" the rough and heavy voice asked. Kushina's smile dropped. "Yes, he is my boyfriend." "What happened?" she asked dreadfully. "Please come to the Konoha General Hospital as soon as possible," he said. Kushina didn't ask anything else. She just grabbed her purse and rushed out of her apartment. Kushina barged in the hospital and then reception, but before she could ask anything, a large man came beside her. "Kushina Uzumaki," he voiced. Kushina turned towards him. Yes, she was cut off by the man. "Follow me," he said, and started to move. Kushina did. She could tell he was a police officer. She also located several others standing here and there, which made her more anxious. After some minutes they stopped in front of a door. The board at the top of the door read, "Intense Care Unit." "He is inside, Minato Namikaze," he said. What you mean Minato is inside?" she asked, extremely nervous. "Yes," he said. Kushina immediately barged inside, and what she saw shook her to the core. There, lying on the bed, was her boyfriend, completely wrapped in bandages. Several IVs were connected to his arms, and several monitors were depicting his condition. An oxygen gas mask was on his face. Only his nose, eyes, and lips were not wrapped in bandages. Tears immediately started to drop from her eyes, and she immediately rushed to his side, and just as she tried to hold his body in her arms, a nurse stopped her. "Easy, you will disturb him. It would be better if you don't touch him," she said, and Kushina nodded teary-eyed. She sat down on a stool near the bed and cried silently for half an hour. After that she stood, wiped her eyes, and slowly touched her lips to his. "Don't worry, Minato. Whoever did this is going to the hell," she whispered in his ear, and immediately came out of the door. She looked left then right and spotted the inspector, and walked to him with hurried steps. "Officer, who did that?" she asked, and it seemed that the officer was not experienced, so he couldn't see the destructive look in her eyes, and told her everything. "We found him at 1 a.m. in the night. Someone ring to the police station." When we arrived at the location, first thing we saw was that he was naked, and then there were words written all over his body, humiliating words. Then on further examination of the body we found that he had brutally beaten. He was bleeding all over. Severe stabbing marks, gashes, and his arms and legs were broken. He was at death's door. We tried to contact the people in his phone's contact list, but you are the only one who picked up the call. Doctor said he is out of danger. It will take time to recover, but he is good now. He explained what happened. Kushina nodded, but he hadn't told her who did that. "Who did this?" she asked again. The inspector sighed and sat down in a chair. "In these 7 hours we did what we can and found out that the boys was from the Kumogakure College. Further investigation told us that 4 boys were from Konoha's college," he said, and Kushina confirmed the name of the 4 boys. She nodded and glanced back at the door and stretched her arms upward in the air to relieve the tension in her arms and moved out. She saw Minato's bike parked outside of the hospital. She rode it to her own college and entered inside. She was wearing a black pant and a white t-shirt and a red leather jacket over it. She stopped, got off the bike, and with quick steps moved towards those 4 boys' classroom. The classes were going on and teachers were giving lectures. Kushina barged in the class, startling everyone. She spotted the 4 boys and their eyes widened in realization. They immediately started to run, and she let 3 of them but stopped the last one by grabbing his arm. She ignored teachers yelling and threats to suspend her from college. She dragged him out and grabbed his collar and looked at his face for a moment, then slapped from her right hand and continued for 5 minutes until it was red and swollen and like a tomato. The boy was now crying openly in pain. Teachers came to stop her, but she pushed them all away. She grabbed the boy's head and hit the nearby wall, shattering his nose and splattering the blood on the white wall of the college. Mikoto, Sum, and other friends came to stop her, but not today. "Not even God can stop me," she growled and punched the boy in the face again, splattering blood everywhere. "Who were the boys with you yesterday night?" she asked calmly, but got no response. She grabbed his right arm and broke it like a stick, making him cry out in pain. "Someone, call the police," she heard someone yell. She brought his face closer again. "If you tell me, I will leave you right now," she said, and the boy looked at her with bloodied face and hopeful eyes. "Keikumo College," he managed to say. Kushina smirked devilishly, and grabbing his hair lifted him in the air and threw him in the direction where someone had yelled to call the police. She immediately walked out of the college building and rode the bike to Kumogakure College, which was on the border of Kumogakure and Konoha but was in the city Kumogakure. She stopped in front of the gate of the college and got off the bike. She stood in front of the college gate. She knew they wouldn't open the gate for her, so she did what she saw fit. She cocked her arm back and made a fist. She closed her eyes, and after 5 seconds suddenly her whole body stiffened, and opening her eyes she threw her fist at the gate. The hinges broke, and seconds later the gate fell inwardly. She entered inside and took a look around her. A group of boys was standing in front of her, approximately 50 feet away, and they were all behind a white-haired man. The other students were all peeking from the class windows and corridors windows, even the teachers. Without saying anything, she started to walk towards the man, but she had just moved 2 steps. The man spoke up. Miss Kushina, I know what these guys did is unforgivable, but they have gotten their punishment. They are all suspended from the college. You don't need to do anything anymore. I hope you understand, the man said, taking a glance behind him over the students. Kushina looked past the man and saw other 3 of her college mate. They froze when they noticed the blood stains on her face and cloths. Hey Darui Pipili, shut the fuck up, Darui hollered to the group behind him. Kushina looked at the Darui. Punishment suspended, she chuckled, making Darui confused. You say they got their punishment as suspension, but you know I am also going to be suspended, so what's the difference? I think they deserve more punishment than me, she said, and started to move towards the group. Darui narrowed his eyes. Miss Kushina, you know this is not your city. This is Kumo, and you are an intruder, and you know very well what happens to intruders who tries to sneak in other cities like terrorists, he said, which made Kushina smirk. Then she started to laugh insanely. When she stopped laughing, she looked at Darui like he was a fool. Well, I know what happens to intruders, but you know what? I am not sneaking in your city. I am barging in your city, she said, and her eyes narrowed. And then she disappeared and split second later appeared to the right side of Darui. Her right palm was on his face, his eyes wide in shock from her speed. She pushed his head down onto the ground with so much force that it got buried in the ground. Everyone froze and started to step back in fear, but the hulky leader didn't back away, and it just increased her lust for blood more. She rushed towards the group and stopped in front of the leader. Staring directly in the eyes of the towering man in front of her, a sinister smile appeared on her face. Kushina's body was around 3 times smaller than the man. He grabbed her neck and started to squeeze. The next moment he found his arm bend upward from the elbow. The man cried out in pain and agony when his arm broke and stumbled backward, cradling his arm in his left hand. But before she could hit him another time, other boys surrounded her. Her eyes widened in glee and her smirk widened. She hadn't felt this excitement for a long time now. Her eyes running around in her eye sockets, observing the students around her, and they fixed on the one in front of her. Aergrig, she roared like a beast, sending waves of shivers of fears in every one of the spectators. As the roar stopped, the carnage of blood started with the boys in front of her. No one actually saw what happened. One boy cried as a large gash appeared on his back, and immediately moments later someone else spat blood in liters, and not even 1 second later another one lose his arm, splattering blood everywhere. They could only see her for less than a second when she were either breaking someone's arm or cutting someone's arm. One boy tried to run away, but 5 steps later he lost his leg, then unable to run. 5 minutes later 10 boys were handicapped, with 5 more boys with broken arms and legs. Kushina looked around at her handiwork and gave a roaring exhale and looked at the remaining trashes. She could hear the vomiting sounds of some people who couldn't bear the cries and stench of blood and the scenes of bloody carnage. She looked at other remaining boys and a grin appeared on her blood-soaked face. Remaining 8 boys started to back away, and then they started to run. Kushina ran behind them, and soon another boy's neck was in her grip, and then snap, she broke it. Then keeping her hold onto his neck, she threw his lifeless body on the 3 boys running in front of her, and the body hit their legs, making them unbalance and stumble. Then another boy vomited gallon of blood, and another boy lost his arms and legs, and another lost his life. The 4 remaining boys started to run towards the main gate in hopes to run outside. She ran behind them, and then the security guard blocked her path, but she jumped and launched his knees in his face, breaking it, and continued her hunt. All 4 boys ran outside on the highway. She looked around and lifted a stone and threw it, hitting the head of another boy, giving him concussion and making him unconscious. Now the 3 remaining boys ran as fast as they could on the highway, but it was a matter of seconds that Kushina would be upon them. They came at a cross point where they stopped on the flyover bridge. They looked down to check the road under the bridge and saw the height of the bridge. Kushina stood in front of them. They knew if they ran she would catch them, so they started to think an alternative. They saw a truck with a large container behind it, passing under the bridge. They all nodded to each other and jumped, but they didn't think ahead, and just as they landed on the container, one boy's body sprang up off the container and onto the road. Second boy couldn't make balance with the speed of the truck and lost balance, and went hurtling on across the container and on the road. Third boy stood with a triumphant smirk on his face. He turned and looked at Kushina and showed her his middle finger, but he forgot to see behind him, and his head stuck in a signboard, and he went rolling on the container and then fell on the road. Kushina chuckled, and soon she could hear the telltale sound of the police siren. She smiled when she felt a presence behind her, and she turned to see who it was. A man with glasses, might be her own age, with Kumo uniform, was standing behind her. They looked at each other for some seconds. The sirens were getting closer, then the man spoke up. "It seems I was a little late. The boys have already met their fate," he said, and Kushina scoffed. "Arriving sooner wouldn't have done any good to you," she said. The man was silent for some seconds, then spoke again. "Who knows what might have happened, but remember my name for when we meet again." "The name is Killer Bee," he said, and disappeared, leaving a Kushina adorning a triumphant smirk on her blood-painted face. Exact 1 minute later the police cars arrived and immediately handcuffed Kushina, who without any resistance went with them. She knew what she had done, and she would have to pay for it either in the prison or her millions of Uzumaki inheritance, but she didn't care. She would do it again if someone else tries to lay hands on her loved ones. Minato opened his eyes after 2 days in hospital bed. He looked around and remembered what happened with him that night. Then nurses came with a male doctor, who nodded to Minato, and Minato blinked in response. Mr. Minato, you are fortunate that you are alive. Your condition when you were brought was worst, and no one in the world could have saved you. Then we tried to contact the legendary Dr. Tsunade Senju, and it was your luck that the famous Dr. Tsunade Senju was in this town on a visit. So with her help we were able to bring you back from the dead, he said, and giving instructions to nurses went out to other patients. He looked at one of the nurses. Hey, did a red-haired woman come to visit me and any other person, he asked. The nurse looked at him. 2 days ago in the morning a red-haired girl came and it's that girl, she said, and put a hand on her mouth. Minato raised an eyebrow. What happened? Why did suddenly your face change, he asked, and for next half hour she told him the news, which was on TV for whole 2 days and still was going on. The room didn't have any TV so he couldn't hear it. She gave him an envelope in which the punishment for Kushina's crime was mentioned. She was imprisoned for 1 month, but all her money was taken from her as a punishment, as condolence to the parties who lost their heirs. They left only a little in her bank account. Minato sighed sadly. She did that all for him. His eyes tear up. 1 month later she was released, but she was on probation for 1 year, and a little mistake from her could make her spend her whole life spent in prison. Kushina went to the hospital straight away. She opened the door leading to Minato's room, and her eyes misted up when she saw him sitting there reading a book. Minato, she gasped and rushed to him. Minato looked at her, and his eyes widened when a redhead hugged him, and realizing who the person was, he too hugged her. They cried like babies. After calming down, Kushina looked at his face, examining it closely while tears continued to escape from her eyes. Minato couldn't see her like that and kissed her passionately, which Kushina returned with equal passion. They poured their love for each other in that heated and intense kiss. Minato pulled her in his lap, caressing her back all over. His right hand moved downward to her ass, and he cupped her left ass cheek and squeezed, burying his fingers in the soft and luscious flesh, making Kushina moan in his mouth. They forget there was someone else too in the room. They came to earth when the occupants cleared their throats. They immediately jerked away from each other with red faces, like their mom had just caught them stealing cookies from the jar. My God, it seems we will have to leave, a red-faced Sim said with a smile. Should we leave you two alone? I understood it's been a long time since you consummated each other. Right, a smiling Mikoto teased them. What are you talking about? A red-faced Minato and Kushina yelled at the same time. The occupants started to leave. Oh well, have fun you two, and don't forget it's hospital, not your apartment, Mikoto teasingly warned, and left giggling, but everyone missed the sad look on her face. And just as they went out, Minato and Kushina looked at each other, and without wasting any more time pounced at each other. They didn't care if it was hospital, but tried to be as less noisy as possible. When Minato finished second time, they fell on the bed like dead weights, sweating profusely. After 5 minutes, Minato looked at Kushina. Kushina, don't do something like that again, Minato asked, and Kushina narrowed her eyes. What do you mean, she asked, hoping he wasn't talking about what she thought he was. Minato sighed and turned on his back and looked at the ceiling. What you did with those boys, he said in a tone which seemed a little disappointed. Kushina sighed and laid her nude body on his chest and put her head under his chin. He wrapped his arms around her. I can't promise you that I wouldn't do it again, but I will try to control myself, she said, and Minato frowned. He knew her. And why can't you promise me, he asked a little sternly, and this time Kushina sat up and looked in his eyes. I will never tolerate anyone who tries to harm my loved ones. I will pay them back 100 times over, Kushina said with so much conviction and a voice of power that for a minute Minato felt fear of the woman who he had just made love. For that moment he felt like he didn't know that woman at all. It was completely different of a persona she had shown to him in all the years that had passed. He gulped, but then the tension was broken when Kushina spoke up. Come on, we have seen each other after so long that I don't want to waste our time talking, she said, and again started to stroke his flaccid dick, which sprang up after third stroke. Kushina lined her on his pole and fell down on it, burying all the length and once taking it as deep as it could go in her inner depths. And again the sounds of flesh hitting flesh started to come out of the room. Some days later Minato was released from the hospital and Kushina then moved in with him. Kushina couldn't go to the same college since she was suspended permanently from it. After college, Minato started to work in Konoha Industries and worked some months. Then Kushina got pregnant when she was 19 years old, and then they got married. Flashback end. And I forgot in her shower of love that she could be a monster if needed, Minato said in a tired tone. It was hard for him to relieve his past memories, but to make Hayashi realize it was needed. And it seemed like Hayashi understood what he has done because he had a horrified look on his face. You have just seen an outer fake cover that she had made after I talked to her. You haven't seen the real Kushina yet, but now I think you will get to see her soon, Minato finished, leaning back. And Minato, what should I do, Hayashi asked, but before Minato could say anything a unique giggling could be heard from behind Hayashi. They all turned toward the owner of the weird laugh and Minato spoke up. You are Orochimaru, he said with wide eyes, and everyone knew who the person was. Hayashi turned to Orochimaru. Orochimaru, what are you doing here, he asked in surprise. Without wasting time, Orochimaru spoke. Mr. Hayashi, don't do anything and leave everything to me, but I will save you if you provide me what I want, he said with a smirk, and everybody knew what Hayashi's answer was. Hayashi stood up and narrowed eyes. What did you say? Leave everything to you, you asshole. Planting the bomb in Kushina's car was your idea, and see where we are now. It all is your fault, Hayashi exclaimed in anger. Orochimaru just sighed. Well, if you don't want my help, it's your choice, but now that you know what a monster she is, you will have to take my help, and you will have to pay for it, Orochimaru declared with a smirk. Ichishi gritted his teeth in anger. Now he understood that Orochimaru manipulated him to take something from him, and now he didn't have choice. What it could be, he thought, except money for his experiments. Hayashi sat back down in his chair and sighed. Okay, but my security from Kushina is your responsibility, Hayashi said, and Orochimaru just smiled his wide smile. At the police station, the local police officer was searching something on his computer, and Shursui was talking to someone on his mobile. I don't care what you do, I want complete information about this Kushina Uzumaki and Uzumaki clan. In the email he yelled to the person on other side and ended the call. He was trying to convince his coworker at JSCF to find everything in the database which is related to Kushina Uzumaki. He sighed. The news about the blast was all over the news channels, and some of them were relating it to her college incident. He will have to find out the culprit before Kushina. Sir, they send the file, the officer said, and Shursui immediately was in front of the screen. Open it, he ordered earnestly. He opened the file and they started to read. Uzumaki clan was the strongest clan ever existed among all the clans. They lived on an island called Whirlpool. The island is to the west and 50 miles away from Japan, but it still comes under Japan's territory. But Japan never interfered with the island's affairs. Uzumakis can be recognized by their hair color red and their godly skills in analysis and programming. Uzumakis were prodigious programmers. The programs or software or jobs related to them were supernatural in themselves and were like a work of fantasy. They could create the most complex and unbelievable softwares in just a day depending on the requirement of the job. Their security was astounding and their softwares were out of this world. No one could ever, till now, have been able to hack their security softwares. Japan's government eventually got afraid of them and decided to take actions, but the president was a smart and peace-loving person. So he decided to take a different take on it. He fixed a meeting with the Uzumaki clan leader, and in that meeting, after recognizing the fact that the island was in Japan's territory, the Uzumaki leader accepted it without fight. And president liked his willingness to solve matters with peace. They made a pact, according to which they would make software only for Japan's government, and in return the Japanese government will provide them anything they wanted and would be out of their matters. As time passed by, the Japanese president and the Uzumaki leader became friends. This pact and Japan's increasing softness towards Uzumaki clan made other states unhappy. The major towns or states like Kumogakure, Sunagakure, Iwagakure, Kirigakure, these 4 states which consisted of Japan's half area were unhappy. The leaders and ministers were all have their own powers in the country, so the government couldn't do anything about them. As a gift from Japanese government, Uzumakis were given a new town smaller than others named Wave. All the Uzumaki started to live in that town to learn about the new societies and peoples, and left the island under a layer of security which was formed by 4 devices at 4 corners of island. When other states became aware about the pact between government and Uzumakis, they got angry and hostile since it was affecting their business and states. So the 3 major forces decided to have a meeting with the president, but even after hours of shouting on each other, they didn't agree with each other's suggestions, and the purpose of meeting couldn't fulfilled. After that, what happened, no one knows, and around 1 month later the Wave village was burning in sky-high fire. Explosion after explosion could be heard from miles of distance, but for several hours no one, either police nor firefighters, reached there, and whole city burned to ashes with the annihilation of Uzumaki clan. No information about any survivor was provided. After several days, Japanese Federal Bureau of Crime and Investigation had a meeting with President, and they were told about the lone survivor Kushina Uzumaki. How she escaped, President didn't disclose the information. But they were told to protect Uzumaki Kushina since she was the only survivor of the tragedy, and only prodigy who has Uzumaki talent of supernatural programming. JFBCI were told that Kushina Uzumaki had declined the offer to work for President personally. She had said, "I will never write programs for anyone in my life. I will bury this God gift in the depths of my mind, the same gift which is the reason for the destruction of my family." After that she was left alone and had been provided an apartment. All her Uzumaki fortune, which was in billions, was also credited to her account. After that she was never confronted by anyone, not even President, but Federal Bureau continued keeping tabs on her, because if she didn't work for them, then in future if she gives birth to a boy or girls, then we could use his or her skills, and those child undoubtedly would be as talented like her. But when the incident with her boyfriend Minato had happened, she came in the flash and everyone came to know about her, the last Uzumaki. But seeing what she did with those college students, no one came closer to her. After killing the students she was imprisoned, and the rumors our president was behind her release, but she lost almost all her money as compensation to the victims, since the victims were from noble and powerful families. After that nothing happened which could attract attention against Kushina Uzumaki, but now after the explosion in which her house is destroyed, the news is, would the tragedy like college students will again surface? But whatever happens, we have orders to protect Kushina Uzumaki, and we just failed in that, and it's a stain in our record. However, in JFBCI or any other investigation agencies read this information is responsible to keep it a secret, and if he or she leaks this information then it will be cause of a punishment of execution. And with this the email ended. The officer Shursui Uchiha slumped in the chair and chuckled in the irony. Man, JFBCI is protecting her. Come on, give me a break, he said to himself in a defeated tone. JFBCI was the supreme independent investigation agency in Japan. The local officer with Shursui pulled his attention towards him. You know, I don't think JFBCI will have a problem if we stop her from murdering someone, he said, and Shursui raised an eyebrow and sighed. It's not about that. The thing is, would we be able to stop her? She was a monster that time with Kumo college student, and now what she could be I don't want to think about it. Not even Kumo's martial arts club leader could stand against her. Hell, he couldn't even see her moving. Didn't you read it? Shursui said in a depressed tone which made other officer also depress. Shursui sighed. The report he had just read changed his point of view about Kushina 180 degree. He never in his dreams could think he would be able to stand against an Uzumaki clan member. They were monsters in human disguise. But he believed in himself, and in his own clan's hypnotizing arts. But he didn't want to use it against anyone, but he decided he will use it if he has to stop the woman Kushina Uzumaki. He looked at the local officer and smiled. Don't worry, whatever happens, we will do our job. Success, failure, depends on future. No one knows what future holds. So we will just do our job, harder than any time, he said with determination which made the local officer get his courage back. Okay, let's do this, he said, and they both got to work. Kushina slowly opened her eyes and felt that someone was hugging her from behind and one arm draped over her torso. She smiled when she realized that it was her son. She put her hand over Naruto's and entangled her fingers in his and pushed back to have as much contact and warmth as she could. And just as she did, her whole body rocked in pain. Her head throbbed and her right shoulder felt like someone was cutting it with a ragged knife. It seemed that the effect of medicine wore off, and the places where she didn't feel pain yesterday, she was feeling now. She tried to get accustomed to it for the time being, till she got her medicine again. But for the moment she wanted to feel the warmth she was feeling on her back more. Suddenly she felt something hard poking the back of her thighs, and to check what it was she rubbed her thighs on it. Her eyes widened in realization. Her whole body became red. She slowly looked back and heaved a sigh of relief when she saw that Naruto was sleeping. Thank God, she thought. Then a teasing smirk formed on her face. She turned under his arm and draped her own arm over his shoulder. She again started to blush hard when she felt his hot breath on her cleavage, which sent tingling sensation in her body, and though she wouldn't admit it, she felt something wet between her legs which only increased the sensation Naruto's hard morning would initiate it. Kushina sighed and tried to control herself. How long has it been for her that someone poked her thighs? 8 years. It was obvious. She didn't even relieve herself with her fingers, only sometimes when she was overloaded. So it was obvious that she would be aroused by what was happening, but she had to control herself, so she slowly freed herself from his arm and sat up. She smiled when she heard Naruto's whining sound in his sleep. She looked at his sleeping form and this time couldn't help herself, and lowering her body brought her lips closer to his, and after what seemed like hours her lips touched his and Naruto unconsciously opened his mouth, and then their lips locked. Kushina's eyes got wide from the sensation and emotions she was feeling. She felt her body go numb, like no strength was left in her body. Her eyes were wide as Naruto started to suck on her tongue like he was sucking on a. She realized that he was dreaming of her feeding to him. She almost cried after realizing it. He still dreamed of those days. She remembered when Naruto, even after being 5 years old, would sometimes ask for her milk. Her eyes welled up and she closed them and started to return the kiss with equal passion. Though it was not a kiss for Naruto, but it was for Kushina. She exchanged saliva with him in the kiss, and she could feel her panties were soaked. She had to control her urges again, or else if Naruto woke up it might end on a bad note. After what seemed like hours, Naruto turned his head, hence breaking their lip lock, which left Kushina wanting more. She sighed in frustration and shook her head to clear it. But one thing was sure, which she just realized: she loved him to death as a son, and now she also loved him as a man whom she wanted to have for so long time. But again the thought of her ex-husband's betrayal came flooding her mind. No, Naruto wouldn't do that. He loves her, but what if? She decided she would take it slow and go with the flow of things. She nodded to herself and smiled. I trust you that you are a true Uzumaki who would never betray a family member, let alone their love. She smiled and decided to wake Naruto up since they will need to go out to have breakfast. Naruto, Naruto, she called and nudged his shoulder. After the efforts of 5 minutes, Naruto woke up and slowly opened his eyes and saw the sight of something gorgeous. Kushina was hovering over Naruto, so her cleavage was just in front of his eyes. His eyes traveled to her eyes and he smiled. Good morning, Mom, he greeted. She gave him a kiss on the forehead, thinking of earlier kiss which sent her body shivering. In the process of kissing, her cleavage came closer to Naruto's face, and he gulped when he smelled her womanly aroma and saw her pinkish white skin. Get ready. We need to go out to have breakfast. I am having first and you can have yours, she said, and moved to the bathroom, leaving a dazed Naruto. After 15 minutes later, Naruto heard his mother calling for him. Naruto, honey, he heard her and wondered what was wrong. Yes, Mom, he shouted in response. There was no response for a second, then he heard again. "Sweetie, can you come here? I am having problem in undressing," she shouted, and Naruto's eyes got bigger in realization that his mother was asking for his help to get undressed. He gulped and stood up and walked towards the bathroom. He stood at the door contemplating. Then he heard his mother again. "Coming, Mom," he said as he entered in the bathroom. What he saw made his softening morning wood hard again. Shit, he mumbled in a low voice. Kushina sat there on a stool with her shirt still on, but Naruto noticed that she had removed her skirt and was sitting there in her white panties. "Hurry up, Naruto," Kushina said urgently. "Why yes," he said as he came closer to her. "What do I do?" he asked. "I have removed my skirt because it was easier. I just had to open the hook and zipper and it slipped down, but this shirt is what I need your help with," she told him the problem. "Oh okay," he said and held her shirt from the collar. Kushina kept her arms lower so that he could slide it down along her arms and remove it. Naruto removed her shirt and put it aside. He looked at her bare skin and his cock and his pant twitched to break free. His throat went dry and he felt his tongue became thick and numb. His hands trembling and a fog filled his eyes. He was totally under control of lust. "Can you unhook my bra too?" Kushina said, and Naruto just hummed in response. He put both his hands on her shoulders. He could see her blue swollen shoulder, so he was careful not to touch there. He slowly slid his hand down, feeling her smooth and silk skin under his palms and finger. His fingers and palms slightly moved left and right as if to caressing her bare back. "Your skin is so soft, Mom," he said in a daze. Kushina smiled. "Thank you," and I know that she replied, still unaware of her son's condition. Naruto's hand reached to the hook of the bra and stopped there. After 1 second he unhooked it, slipped it down along her arms, and Kushina removed it. "Thanks, now you can wait outside until I finish my bath, then you can help me dress up," Kushina said, but Naruto didn't hear her. Naruto leaned his face down, and his lips touched the top of her spine, and Kushina immediately stiffened up with wide eyes when she realized what her son was doing, and Naruto, it came out as a gasp. Naruto's lips touched there for a few seconds, and then he traced his lips upward to the back of her neck and kissed there. This time Kushina's body trembled in desire, but it was not right time. She knew it, but why was Naruto doing this? His hands descended down to the sides of her back and caressed there up and down for a few seconds. "Oh God," Kushina moaned in her mind. She so much wanted to give in to desire, but she knew it was not right time for Naruto. Not at the moment. She had to break it up, and she knew that if she just outright said it to him it will end up badly. So she decided to do something else. She immediately turned on the stool, hitting her okay shoulder to Naruto's head lightly. It broke his balance, and he slipped on the floor and fell down. "Ah, Naruto, sorry. Are you alright?" she said in worry, and her eyes fell on the tent in his boxers. She gulped and looked at Naruto. Naruto then came out of his haze and his vision cleared and his eyes widened. He looked at her and realized what he was going to do and what he did. He wondered if his mother realized what he was doing. And he stopped thinking, "How can I do this to my own mother?" It rang in his head repeatedly, and he stood up immediately and ran out. Kushina looked at him worriedly. "Shit, it's all this shoulder's fault." She cursed her shoulder and decided to hurry up. Hell with the pain, she thought, and started to bath. She needed to talk to Naruto as soon as she finds proper time. After finishing her bath, Kushina came out of the bathroom with a towel wrapped around her 6-foot slender and sexy figure. "You can have your bath now," she said, and Naruto just nodded and went in the bath without even looking at her. Kushina got dressed with difficulty. It was easy to wear her panties and pants, but it was difficult to wear bra and shirt. So she went with braless and wore a loose thick cotton shirt so that she wouldn't hurt much while wearing it, and her wooden made a grapes-like outline on her. After half hour later, they both stood at the local bus stand, waiting for the bus. And after half more hour they were in a restaurant having their breakfast. Kushina looked at Naruto. He hadn't said any words to her since the bathroom incident, and she knew why. She had guessed it in her head and reached on the result that her son was entering puberty. She will have to be careful and would have to have a talk about stuff and what happened in the bathroom. She will have to tell him that she wasn't angry either, she thought any less of him or hate him. It was actually reverse, she wanted to give in so badly. She will have to talk to him before they met with the doctor. They finished their breakfast and after paying the bill walked out. The hospital wasn't far from the restaurant, so they decided to walk. They were walking in silence. Naruto looked everywhere, but his mother and Kushina was getting agitated. They were passing by a park and Kushina decided to talk to him in the park despite the fact that the pain in her shoulder killing her. She grabbed his hand and dragged him in the park, and after finding a secluded bench which were hidden a little by the trees in the park. "Mom, why are we here?" Naruto asked a little hesitant. Kushina pulled Naruto down beside her on the bench. "To talk," she replied as she looked at her son, and he looked away, afraid to look in her eyes. "Naruto, look at me," Kushina said softly. After a second Naruto looked at her with wetness in his eyes. "Mom, I am sorry. It won't happen again, just don't hate me." Naruto felt like someone was choking him. Kushina's gasped hearing him. She lifted her hand but then put it down again. She sighed, turned on the bench facing her son. She put a hand on his back. "It's not your fault, honey," Kushina said, and Naruto tried to protest, but Kushina put a finger on his lips. "Shush, let me explain," she said, and Naruto looked down again. "Do you know what puberty is?" she asked, and he shook his head in a no. Puberty is a stage or process where a child's body matures into an adult body. At this stage, human becomes capable to reproduce. When it happens, our mind starts to release some specific hormones which increases libido and sexual urges, and that's what happened with you, Kushina explained, and was shocked to know that she had this knowledge. Naruto looked at his mother with somewhat confused eyes. So you mean that I am in puberty, he asked, and Kushina nodded. Yup, it's a natural process, and it happens with everyone. People start to have sexual thoughts about the female whoever they are with, and in your case I am here. But she stopped and wrapped her arm around his shoulder and pushed her to his arms, which obviously didn't go unnoticed by Naruto. But what he stammered, and could feel his elbows sinking in her marshmallows. He gulped and tried to divert his mind but couldn't. She brought her lips closer to his. You don't need to hide it from me, you know. If you had just come out of your problem of having an erection by seeing me this morning, then what happened wouldn't have happened, she whispered a little seductively, making him blush. Naruto sighed and exhaled. But mom, still, I mean, you are my mother. How can I feel sexual urges for you? This is just sick, Kushina finished his line. Naruto slumped down as his shoulders sagged. You know it's not you who had those feelings for me. It's the animal in you that had those feelings for my body. It was your primal instincts, after all. All humans are descendants of animals, Kushina explained again, but he was still hesitant. And you can't stop it from happening, from getting aroused whenever you see an attractive female body, Kushina said further, and Naruto just sighed. You mean it will happen again and again? Naruto asked again with panic. It wasn't like he was going to see women in bathrooms, but what if he got an erection by seeing the girls in his school's swimming club? Kushina tightened her arms around his shoulder. Okay, everything aside, I will come out straight with it, she said, and Naruto looked up at her. Naruto, I have told you several times to not hide anything from me. Not even your sexual feelings. I want you to share with me whatever you feel. If you are having an erection because of my body, then let it be. It's not like I haven't seen it before. I want you to be open with me, because only then we will be comfortable in living with each other. Because you will be aroused whenever you saw me, and if you tried to hide it from me, then you will hide yourself from me, and then we will drift apart, and that is something I can't live with, Kushina finished as she closed her eyes and placed her hands in her lap. There was silence for a minute. Naruto could feel that his mother was getting annoyed by his childish behavior, but wasn't showing him. Well then, he decided to be a mature kid. After all, his body had already started to change into that of an adult. He looked at his mother. So from now on I don't need to hide, he pointed down to his crotch where his pant was a tent. This from you, he finished as the side of his lips stretched in a grin. Kushina looked down, and when she saw his rampant erection she chuckled. Damn right, you don't need to hide this from me from now on, because you are going to see more of your hot and sexy mother, Kushina exclaimed with a wide grin, and the last word made Naruto blush. Naruto raised an eyebrow and Kushina understood. My arm and leg isn't going to heal in just 1 or 2 days, Kushina noted with a wide grin, which made Naruto shook his head. Okay, now let's go and see the doctor. The pain is killing me, she observed, and Naruto's eyes widened. Oh mom, I am sorry. Let's go, he exclaimed and hastily moved ahead his mom. Kushina smiled. She felt like she achieved something today. They came out of doctor's office after 1 hour on a crutch under her right armpit. Her right ankle and right elbow were casted and supported. Damn that doctor, I told him to not cast my elbow. Now how am I going to do my everyday small chores, Kushina hissed from gritted teeth as they made their way out of the hospital. Naruto was supporting her. He had his right arm around her shoulders, but because of his short length he wasn't of much help, but he was doing his best. Naruto looked at his mother. She had a frown, obviously annoyed on her condition. Naruto knew things were going to be awkward a little from then on, because she wouldn't be even able to dress or undress or anything that needed 2 hands. But whatever, his mother was right. He was going to see more of her very closely, and he was going to take full advantage of it, and she wouldn't be able to do anything about it. He leaned towards her ear. Mom, you are going to be on my mercy now, and I won't show you any, Naruto whispered, and for a moment Kushina was silent, and when it sat in her head, her face turned red. What happened, Mom? Are you okay? He asked mockingly, and Kushina sputtered. Naruto chuckled. It was good to have one on her, but Kushina composed her demeanor and turned to her son with a smirk. Oh well, don't worry, I wouldn't want you to have any mercy on me. I would like you to be a beast in heat, she said, and this time it was Naruto who turned crimson and looked away in embarrassment. Their bus came and they both went to their house, whatever remained of it. They sat on some makeshift seat of debris of their house looking at the broken house. What are we going to do now? Naruto asked with a little worry. Well, I am thinking to rent an apartment for a while. What do you say? She asked for his opinion. I don't think we have any choice, Naruto replied, and both of them looked towards the street when a black Mercedes stopped in front of their porch. Kushina smiled when her boss came out of the car with his secretary following behind. He came up to Kushina and Naruto stood up to greet him. Well, how are you? He asked, looking at the debris. Kushina sighed. Fine. I will need some more days of vacation to get settled, she said, and his boss put a hand on her shoulder. Kushina, don't worry about the work. You can take as many days as you want. I will give you your work, he said, and Kushina looked him. Thank you, sir. I just need a couple of days, Kushina said gratefully. Her boss looked at Naruto. And who this young man is? He asked, and Kushina felt a little embarrassed for not introducing her son. He knew she had a son, but they never met to each other. Kushina wrapped her arm around her son. This is my son Naruto, and Naruto, He is my boss, Kushina introduced, and both of them shook hands. Naruto and Kushina's boss talked for a while when Kushina's phone rang and she excused herself for a while. Both of them took a great liking to each other immediately, and they became like a pair of long-lost grandfather and grandson. Kushina's boss also came to know that Naruto was interested in computers and softwares. Naruto also told him that he was thinking to make a career in computing. Kushina, I am thinking to give your son a chance in our company's computer department, her boss said, and Kushina raised an eyebrow as she came towards them after ending the call. What she voiced. Your son seemed to have a passionate love for computing, he noted, and Kushina's eyes widened. She immediately composed herself and looked at her son. He never mentioned it to her. Naruto just smiled in return of her look. Her thoughts interrupted when her boss spoke up. By the way, Kushina, I think you need a place to stay and I have a better place for it, her boss said to Kushina, and she raised her eyebrow again. Well, you can live in company quarters, he suggested, and Kushina shook her head. Well, the offer is good, but they are for the employees who can't afford their own home, and I can't take that from them, she said, and boss shook his head. Kushina, don't be ridiculous. They are empty. No one is living in them, and if someone applies for it, then we have more than enough quarters. You can take the top floor. I will do the paperwork, and you just sign them, he explained to Kushina, and her eyes widened. She looked at her boss. You mean that luxury top floor, but they are for VIPs, she exclaimed in shock. Well, you are a partner in the company, doesn't that make you a VIP, he stated with a grin. Kushina chuckled. Well, you are right about that, Kushina replied and looked at Naruto with a mischievous smirk which made him nervous. Alright, then you move into the apartment, and I will send the papers to you, her boss said, and Kushina nodded. Her boss left after that and Kushina again sat down on their makeshift seat. Naruto looked at her. Well, what is it, he asked why she was smirking. Well, we are going to live in an apartment with a big bedroom, big bathroom, big living room and big kitchen, and she stopped and looked at her son with a grin. She leaned towards his ear. A big swimming pool, she whispered, and Naruto's eyes widened. That day they moved into their new apartment, or home. Kushina hired a truck to load the luggage and empty their current collapsed house. When they reached on the address, they found out that it was near Naruto's school, not more than 2 minutes' drive away. Naruto looked at the building and it was huge. Kushina told him that it was 20 floors high, and they were going to live on the 20th floor without anyone's disturbance. They got in the elevator and reached their floor and stood in front of the door of their new home. So are you ready to enter, Kushina asked, and Naruto nodded eagerly. Kushina could see the excitement on his face. All right, she mouthed and pushed the doors open, and what they saw made their eyes widen in shock. It was like a 5-star hotel room, and since it was the top floor, it had one more floor in the apartment which made it just like their previous house. There were 3 rooms upstairs and 2 downstairs, and the living room was attached to the kitchen. The living room was separated by a large glass door from the area where the pool was. The area around the pool had plants of different types and a balcony to look over the view of the open world of nature and roads. Naruto flopped on the couch in the living room after helping his mom to sit on the couch. Since Kushina was unable to cook, Naruto ordered the food from restaurant. And since Kushina had her right arm unable to use, Naruto fed her. She was first embarrassed but accepted when Naruto persuaded. They lay there on the couch after eating. They talked, teased, flirted and laughed, and after a while fell silent. Naruto, tomorrow is the court hearing, Kushina said, breaking the silence. Naruto sighed but didn't say anything. Of course he was worried. My lawyer friend talked to me. She said she is ready for tomorrow. She also said that your testimony will be needed because you are older enough to understand and to tell the truth about whom with you will be comfortable in living. Now your dad and I stands equal in every term, so I think that only thing remains is that who can take care of you better, she said to Naruto, looking at the ceiling. Naruto was silent. He didn't know what to say, but he didn't need to say anything because he knew who he would choose, if it came to it. And since they were exhausted, they fell asleep immediately. And it was their first time when they slept separately because Naruto didn't want to hurt her, so he decided to sleep on the different couch. Naruto opened his eyes and he immediately sat up and looked around. He sighed when he remembered that they were moved in there yesterday. He looked around to see his mother but couldn't find him. Where is she? He muttered and stood up. He first decided to look in the balcony and swimming pool area. Naruto slid the glass door separating the pool and living room and walked past the door, and there she sat on a chair looking towards other buildings and the roads. Naruto noticed that she wore a serious expression mixed with worry. He knew why she was worried. He was worried too because no one knew what was going to happen in the court. Naruto walked closer to her from behind and stood there for a second, and then leaning down wrapped his arms around her shoulders and brought his cheek over her shoulder, closer to her cheek, and rubbed it with his own cheek. Kushina smiled as she lifted her hand and patted his cheek. You woke up, she said, and Naruto just moaned as he buried his face in her neck, making Kushina sigh. They stayed like that for a while in the calm environment with closed eyes and slow breaths. What time is it? Kushina asked. Maybe 7, Naruto answered and stared where his mother was staring. Do you know our building is the last in the row, so it's closer to the forest? She asked, and Naruto was surprised to know that they were not even 500 feet away from the forest. They again became silent. Naruto, Kushina started. Yes, he replied. I need to take a shower, she said as she looked up with a mischievous smile to see his face. Naruto chuckled when he looked at her face. Okay. Will you be okay now? She asked with a little grin, and he nodded. Naruto then helped her to stand up. It wasn't like she couldn't stand up, but she liked it when he showed care for her. They moved to the bathroom and Naruto was amazed to see its size. It had every facility with a big jacuzzi. So how are we going to do it without wetting my casted leg and arm? Kushina asked as she looked at the big jacuzzi, and Naruto started to thought. Well, you can't soak your whole body in that jacuzzi. You can sit on the stool and stretch your leg outward on the footstool, and you can put your arm on another stool and I can pour water on you and you can wash your body by other hand, Naruto explained to his mother, and Kushina nodded. That's a great idea, she said with a smile. Naruto placed stools on their places and Kushina sat on one, and put her leg on other, and placed her arm on another stool beside her. Okay, now the hard part, Naruto said, and Kushina giggled. It's not hard, you know. I can unbutton the buttons and you can just slide it down from behind like yesterday, she said as she started to unbutton her shirt, and Naruto nodded. They removed her shirt and bra and Kushina removed her skirt and panties by lifting one butt cheek at a time and then other. Are you good, sweetie? Kushina asked with a smile. Why yeah, he almost mumbled. Talk to me, honey. Communication is the best way to get through tough and uncomfortable situations, Kushina encouraged him because she knew talking was necessary to make it less uncomfortable. There was silence for a second, then Naruto spoke. Mom, your skin smells wonderful, Naruto said meekly, and Kushina blushed immediately, but she pushed the embarrassment in the back of her mind. Really, but I know that. What else did you notice about it? She asked in a casual tone. Well, it looks as soft, silky, and it's just amazing, he said, stuttering. Kushina closed her eyes. Want to touch it? She said almost in a husky tone. Why yes, he answered nervously. Then go ahead, she gave permission to touch her skin. Naruto placed his hand on the base of her neck, which almost made Kushina moan. Naruto caressed the skin under his hand and it was just like he had thought, soft, silky, and it was shining. After some seconds he got his confidence back and started to roam his hands on all over her back. This time Kushina couldn't stop from moaning. And it feels good, baby, she muttered under her breath, and Naruto heard it. Really, he asked, and she voiced her appreciation by a long moan which made Naruto blush. Naruto started to massage her back after he rubbed soap on it. He almost reached to her cheeks but didn't go all the way down. After foaming her back and massaging it thoroughly, he retracted his hand back. Your back is done, Mom, he said, and Kushina nodded. Thanks. He handed the soap to his mom and she soaped her front by herself. After she was thoroughly soaped, Naruto poured water on her from behind. He was devastatingly tempted to take a peek over her shoulder on her forbidden front, but he couldn't dare. She was done after 5 minutes. Naruto helped her dry and dress and they were ready to have breakfast. Kushina sat on the couch as Naruto cooked breakfast for both of them as best as he could cook, despite the fact that he was not a good cook. They finished their breakfast and were ready to leave for the court. Are you ready? Kushina asked to her son as they left the house, and he nodded with a little worry. We will first go to our lawyer's office, pick her up and head to the court, Kushina explained as they entered in the elevator. They called a cab and headed to the lawyer's office. 10 minutes later the driver pulled up in front of the office and a black-haired woman came out of the office with a handbag in her hand and some files in other hand. She had neck-length black hair, with large busts rivaling Kushina's. She was wearing a black pant and white shirt and black coat. She smiled when she saw Kushina in the cab. Kushina smiled back and Naruto looked at her. She felt familiar to him. He felt like he had seen her somewhere but couldn't pinpoint it. The woman came closer to the cab and opened the door and leaning down grinned at Naruto. Hey kid, how are you doing? She asked with a wide and a wolfish grin, and when Naruto saw her fangs he recognized her. Kushina, you didn't tell me that you have a stud under your arm, and he is handsome too, she said with a little jiggle of her large bust making Naruto's face go red. Shut up and come inside and flirt with the men of your age group, not with kids, Kushina said as she mildly glared at her lawyer. Her smirk widened. My already being possessive of your boito, she said, but cut off by Kushina. Don't you dare to say that word or else you won't be able to flirt with anyone in future, Kushina threatened as her lips stretched in a smirk. I was just joking, she said nervously, and climbed in the cab and almost sat in Kushina's lap when there was no space left in the cab. Kushina pinched her in the butt making her squeal. What the hell are you doing? She shrieked as she rubbed her butt. Where the hell was you going to sit? Kushina growled, making her sweat. Go and sit in the front seat, Kushina said, and she reluctantly sat in the front seat. Kushina looked at Naruto, who was looking at the lawyer's head from behind. Where are you looking at? She asked a little edgy. Naruto immediately turned his eyes away and stared outside of the window. They sat for a moment in silence. Do you want to sit in my soft lap, honey? Lawyer suggested from her seat to Naruto, who just wanted to jump out of the window. Kushina fumed. Shut the fuck up, you skanky woman and driver. What the hell are you waiting for? She said, exclaiming and giving the driver a sour piercing glare. The driver immediately turned his eyes from his front seat woman's bus to the road and drove off to the destination.